Is this thing on? Hey, welcome everybody to Well of the World Session 4, which is titled tonight In the Hall of the Mountain King, which was better than Dinner at Deviant's Palace, which is a Tim Powers novel, but sort of the same thing. We are out Freya tonight, but since there's 4 out of the 5 players, we'll keep going. And let me give you a rundown of events from last session. Let's see. Our heroes prepared to make the walk from Fearcat to Ashcam because there are no cars, there are no trains, there are no vehicles except for carts and horses and wagons and things. So you had Dagvith accompany you along with Brekka and Vareen as escorts, who armored up with shield and spear and all that, and were more than happy to walk with you. Before that happened, Lamar tried experimenting with a spear that had been broken in half, leading to much shaking of head from the others, especially those who used a spear and saw what you were doing and just did not understand where you were going with that. During the trip, you spotted an immense animal the size of an elephant, with a body shape that seemed to combine bear and tapir. Dagvith called it the hill that strips leaves from trees and noted they were said to dig long tunnels in the ground. Freyas found a stack of newspapers, the New York Times specifically, said papers were from 1951, and the lead story stated that President Thomas E. Dewey was sending the All American Squad, a team of costume superhumans, to deal with the police action in Korea. Edgar examined the papers and declared, well, they're genuine. So that seems to be yet a different timeline that you have bumped into. Ashcam proved to be all that Brekka, Dagfeith, and Vareen said. It was easily 4 times as large as Fearcat, with a large marketplace at the center of the settlement. You saw Huskarls for the first time, well armed and armored. They apparently keep the peace. While Lamar visited the weapons merchant, everyone else visited the scribe. Lamar found that a coat of mail would cost 1,000 silver pennies and take a season to make. He also managed to finagle a meeting at dinner with Jarl Thorkell. The rest of the heroes visited Arindi the scribe. He showed how to write the local language, a mostly runic script, which meant that individual symbols represent, instead of a single letter, more like a single sound, or maybe even a word. I know there's a term for it, which I believe Edgar dropped. I can't remember. There's a term for that kind of a script, and agreed to teach it after being given a pen and notebook from Edgar. That paper was finer than anything he has, and that pen was a wonder. So he was like, "For this, I will. I can certainly teach you how to write what I know, the language." Eventually, everyone ended up in the mead hall, where they heard tales from Bran the Scald. One which such tale was the story of he who falls, who apparently dwelt above the sky and chopped down a great tree in order to provide for his people and create a new land. Let's see, some minor items. You have seen now several new peoples, including furred, horned, running, who are like 7 feet tall, and scaled, which are basically humanoid lizards. You were told of a mead hall, a handed days to sunset, that serves drinks as cold, or is said to serve drinks as cold, as the snow that sometimes falls. You saw the Great Trade Road, which appears to be made out of the same stone, air quotes, as the plaza where you took shelter from the thunderstorm. And you were also told that far, far down said road, there's a city of, quote, stone and steel, ruled by an immortal wonderworker who is twice as tall as a spear is long. And we left this session with all of you getting ready to, or having left the mead hall. That's when you met one of the running people, because they were coming in as you were going out, and they were easily, like I said, almost 6 feet and 7 feet in height, long arms, long legs, large hands and feet, kind of brownish skin color, pale hair. And you were told never ever challenge one of them to a foot race, you will lose. And so you have assembled out in front of the mead hall and are getting ready to go to Jarl Thorkell's hall for dinner. And the floor is yours.
So
Yeah.
Lamar is still kind of frustrated a little bit, and he is now, but he is now walking towards the y'all's place.
Okay.
I think the rest of us, Edgar's going to. I think the rest of us had started heading that way as well.
Mhm.
At that point,
Yeah, we followed up after him shortly, so Ashland's kind of hurrying to catch up, hopefully.
yep.
I noticed that she's hurrying to catch up and lengthen my stride. Joking.
Um, so the hall that Lamar is leading you to is pretty much the same as some of the other ones. Now, unlike the long houses back at Fear Cat, this isn't sort of like it doesn't have that half a loaf of bread shape where it sort of comes down at either end. This is more taller. The roof is peaked and much more obviously shingled as opposed to the like thatch roof that you see in Fear Cat. There are end posts and a roof post. There's sort of carvings and decorations. It is, I mean, it is much more elaborate than most of the other buildings in the area. The mead hall is sort of a lesser example of this hall. It is pretty sizable. It's basically a long rectangle with double doors at the end facing out roughly toward what you would say the center of town is. There is, by the way, anybody who has any idea of urban planning, there isn't much here. Uh, there's like there's four sets of long houses in that cross shape, and then everything else is somewhat a little more erratically set up. There's not streets exactly. There's sort of this big open market area, and then buildings arranged around that, and then some other buildings in sort of rows. But it's not. It doesn't look to be very carefully planned. It's not fully chaotic, but it's not any. Uh, it's not like gridded out. If you ever come out to Denver, you'll see what a really gridded street plan is like. Uh, so out in front of the hall are two more Huskarls on either side of the door. They are dressed pretty much the way you've seen the long hauberk mail, axe or spear, shield on the back, belt with sword. Both are kind of standing there straight backed, looking very serious. Uh, they don't really stop either any of you from going in. They seem to be aware that Lamar will be attending, and the doors are open.
So
If I don't shift my eyes a lot and look at you guys very quickly, I'm trying to stave off any vertigo. So just if
yeah.
I pause, just close my eyes and take a breath, that's what I'm doing. Lamar, you were
Oh, okay.
saying?
Yeah. As I walk up, do I recognize these Huskarls, or are these the same ones that I saw before?
Realize you're gonna you are due here for dinner.
Yeah. Uh, he's going to bow at the waist. Just like I'm here to visit with Thorkell. Isn't it? Is that the Huskarl? Not Huskarls. You guys are Huskarls. Is that the Jarl's name?
One of them takes kind of a deep breath and shakes his head. Jarl Thorkell has made place for you and your companions at the table.
Oh, I appreciate it. Is there like a like? Do you guys go from like left to right, like with the forks, or right to left? Is there like a I'll figure it out when I get in there. And then he's gonna start walking into the building.
Ashland will pause momentarily and apologize to them for him before she goes in.
Yeah, Dagfeith is like at your shoulder, and she kind of shakes her head and leans. He's new.
It's
And
also just a bit awkward as it is.
Yeah, Edgar's in there as
So,
well.
um, so Lamar, inside, what you see is uh, two long tables running the length of the hall, and there's a fire pit in sort of the center. And then at the far end from where you've come in, there's basically a large chair and two slightly smaller chairs to either side. And you see Jarl Thorkell sitting at the head of the table. And he is red skinned. So he's got that same fire, stop sign red and orange hair, like the color of a traffic cone. He has the clothing that you've sort of associated this region. He's got a tunic with the shirt underneath, presumably trousers and boots and such. But everything you can see looks to be somewhat high quality, a very finer weave of cloth, has a silver torque around his neck. He has elaborate edging or stitching or trim along pretty much the sleeves and around the neck. Has rings on. If you ever, whenever you see him stand up, there's precious metal and cut gems in his knife and belt and parts like that. He's not otherwise armed or armored, but also it's a dinner. To his left, sorry, I wrote all this down and I'm not double checking. No, sorry. To his right is a girl or woman of the farming people, but with blue skin and the same orange hair. Quite attractive, even considering most of the people that you've seen so far, Lamar. Also dressed pretty much the same way, does not have the apron that you've come to expect from most of the women that you've seen in the way they dress. Also is pretty much done up with the same sort of decorative trim and stitching, necklace of what looks like precious metal, bracelets, a torque around her neck as well, rings on her fingers, very well dressed, very well appointed. Sitting opposite her and on Thorkell's left is that same scaled person individual that you saw before. Uh, Sort of like I said, a humanoid skink, if you can imagine that, with the sort of extended, smooth face, um, a jacket with sort of a lot of decorative trim on it, and then like the buttons that go across, like frog buttons that go down, a long jacket, long sleeves. You can't tell if he still has the sword on because he's the way he's sitting. He and Thorkell are actually talking a bit as you come in with the girl, the young woman looking semi-interested but significant, but is distracted by the lot of you coming in and is much more curious about you all and what you're doing as you come in. Um, you also see Arindi is there. You see Braun is there. Braun is actually playing music, sort of, and will be playing music. So you have background music during all this. There are also around the hall 4 guards. You recognize Astrid. There's also Eric the Valiant, I believe you've seen. And then one of the furred people and one of the leaping people are there, all in full gear. And there are some servants who will direct the 8 of you to places further down the table and will place platters and cups in front of you. And your tools are a spoon, a knife, and a fork. And since Lamar was first in, we'll start with Lamar, and then I'm going to go clockwise from my point of view around the screen and ask the rest of you what's up. So Lamar, this is what you see.
As he approaches the table, he's going to take off his swords so he can sit down and not have them banging against the table and whatnot. And he's just gonna kind of like put them under the seat, and he's gonna sit down. and he's going to breathe a sigh of relief, and he's like, "There's only one of each. I don't have to remember which way is which." Like, what's the spread looking like? Is there like finger foods in front of us or anything?
I'll get to that.
Okay.
Let me go through everybody first. Edgar. That's what you see when you come in.
Yeah. Edgar is going to definitely wave to Arendi since they've had that discussions already. And he's going to really pay attention to what other people are doing at the table. Like, are they sitting down? Are they waiting for someone to eat? How is that going? Are we sitting? So how large is the table? Like, how far back are we sitting?
Well, let's put it this way. First of all, everybody who I've mentioned is either seated at the table, except for the guards who are standing, and Bran is off to one side playing. So Arindi basically points to the bench next to him when he sees you and indicates you can sit there if you wish. And then the two of you may end up discussing matters during dinner.
Okay. Yeah, Edgar will go to Arendi for sure then.
Okay. Ashlyn.
Ashlyn doesn't think too hard about where to sit, just finds a spot, and kind of sits quietly, and then Jack pokes his head out of her pocket, and she'll kind of tentatively pull him out and see if it's okay to set him near my platter on the table. Does anybody say anything, or?
If no one else, Mark definitely does.
The the young woman of the farming people with blue skin, her eyebrows kind of go up, but in a sort of surprise and curiosity, not in a "oh my God, get that thing out of here." And Jack just sort of sits there, quite like curls up and just sort of sits there, expectantly waiting. Does not go, much to your relief, does not go exploring the table.
Yeah, good.
Freya is going to sit. By the way, so let me get to, and let me forgot, Roland. This is what you see as you. And by the way, the open seats for most of you is basically at the far end of this row of these pair of tables.
We're definitely not important. I'm okay with that. I would like to sit like near Carlos and Arendi because things to discuss. And there's no way we're going to be near anybody else that's even remotely seems like they'd be interesting to talk to.
You can do that. Now, interesting. Now, a quick point then. I will note that this means, just for fun, this means it's Thorkell, this young woman, this scaled person, Arendi, Carlos. Opposite them is you. So directly, Roland, to your right is going to be this young woman, and then further down, and wherever Lamar wants to be. Are you going to be as close as possible, or were as further away?
I'd want to be closer rather than further to the Housecarl. I mean, to the y'all, rather.
All right. Would you have sat next to the young woman, or would you have?
Probably not. He needs to be focused. He's not trying to thirst right now, and he'd definitely be thirsty sitting next to this people.
Okay. So Roland, you have Lamar. You have this woman on your right, and you have Lamar on your left. Ashlyn, you were down at the second table. Frey is down there. Sitting next to you is Dagfeith, and then sitting together, because you figure there's no way, they were not going to sit apart, Breck and Vareen. Interestingly enough, they have placed their gear against the wall. They were directed by the Huskarls, who don't seem to think it's odd that they came, geared this way, but hey, this is where you're going to put your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
As you all sit down, Thorkell sort of stands and looks at all of you. Thank you for joining me for dinner tonight. We will eat first, as is proper, before we discuss any matters. Please, fill yourselves with what my table has to offer. And as he says that, platters are being brought in, and I actually wrote a note down and now I can't find it. Oh my God, how do I do this to myself? Here it is. Um, so what is laid out is and this is not in any sort of courses. Basically, food just starts getting laid out, and there is roasted meats and bread, and what you look to be cheeses and vegetables, root and leaf and other, and fruit. There are small bowls of honey, which is apparently spread on the bread or the cheese, and you apparently just help yourself to whatever is in front of you, or maybe ask to be something passed to you. Uh, and then for your drink, they have a form of beer, a form of mead, and some wine, whatever you like. If you ask for water, they will get some if you don't want to drink any of this other stuff. Um, it's anybody who is not worried about getting destroyed by alcohol. This is not super strong alcoholic beverage. That said, mead is one of these things that can probably sneak up on you. So some of you may want to be careful. But everybody else is just drinking, doesn't really bat an eye and drinking it down. Um, and the food is laid out. And sometimes there's like a fork stuck in it or a spoon. In other cases, you just sort of help yourself with what you have, or rip something off, like the carcass that's put in front of you. Like it's like poultry type stuff. Just tear into it. Anybody expecting like really fine manners, I mean, nobody's eating like stuffing their face into a platter and making a mess, but it's anybody who's thinking, oh, I have to keep my pinky extended and work my way in and out and ting my glass to get it. No, it's nothing like that.
Fantastic. Lamar's gonna respond to the Jarl, and he's gonna say, thanks for having us. Like, what's that cheese called? Like, you said there's different types of cheeses?
There are different colored cheeses. If you ask that question, Thorkell will not answer, but the young woman will. She will sort of talk around Roland, or to Roland, either saying "tell him" or lean back and look behind Roland to talk to you, and will give you, like, if you start talking, it'll basically the image I have is you'll end up leaning, but she'll lean back and you'll talk literally behind Roland's back, if you ask her, like, what's this and what's this.
Like, do you guys milk all cows? Or are these like goat cheese? Like, are these little like ribbon rat milk like cheese? Like, what is it?
Um, she will tell. She will actually say, "Who are you again?"
Oh, forgive me, terrible manners. My name is Lamar Merriweather the Third. Yeah, this is my friend here, and he's gonna clap. He's gonna clap Roland on the back. This is my friend here, Roland, a scholar. Yeah.
So she
And
looks at you, Roland, and says, "Well, very pleased to meet you, and I hope you enjoy my father's table."
I appreciate his hospitality. It's not often we get to sit with a Jarl to discuss potential matters.
And she basically indicates herself and looks at the two of you. "I am Aldous."
Charmed.
It is a pleasure to meet you.
Tell me, Lamar, you are new here, I take it?
Extremely. Been here, and he like looks at his watch. Like, I don't know, like what, 3 days, 4 days?
Basically. Oh, where from?
I'm from Apollo Beach. You probably have never heard of it, but yeah, that's where I'm from.
She nods sagely and says, actually, give me a quick moment. Sorry. And by the way, if anybody else wants to butt in, please.
Yeah, and Roland here is from. Oh yeah, where are you from?
I'm from San Diego. Not that not that that's a place that you'd be familiar with.
Yeah,
We come
very,
from a
very.
place beyond the horizon, actually.
So she sounds out Apollo, uh, and then sounds out and says Saint Diego. I have not heard, and she nods. She goes, I have not heard of these places. Perhaps Zihan has, and she indicates the scaled person there.
Yeah, I would be very surprised if he's heard of Saint Diego or Apollo Beach. Yeah.
Oh my God!
Okay.
Nobody knows the origin of either of those words, so I can't play with that. Okay. Um,
Yeah, San means saint. Yeah, you got it right.
Yeah, I'm Roland is not surprised she doesn't bat an eye when he says it's from a place beyond the horizon.
mm, she's trying to puzzle out that word in her head, but she doesn't. But as I noted, she sort of says she. Uh, oh, okay. So what she does say when you say that, why do I keep closing Wiktionary? No, good. I left it open this time. She says boundary of what?
Yeah, I'll leave that to the good doctor to explain. And he like pats Roland on the back.
Let's while Roland thinks about that one, because you look a little like, oh my God, how do I explain that? Let's go with Carlos. Carlos, you're sitting there next to Arindi. He is basically, he's actually trying to help you out. He's sort of explaining what's in front of you and says you should try this. What you, aside from that, what you find somewhat interesting is that Thorkell is talking to this individual named Zihan, and they are discussing the conditions of the roads between where you are, Ashcam, and some place that whatever word he is using, you hear or it seems to translate to the monarchy of the two queens.
So Edgar's going to lean over to Arendi then. So I've heard of different places now since we've been here. I've heard of like a city of stone ruled by an immortal, and I hear mention of a monarchy of two queens. What is that?
He says, "Oh, that is the land that Zihan comes from. He comes to Ashcam periodically to trade for hide and leather and horn and antler. Uh, as I understand it, there are two queens of that land: the Queen of the Day and the Queen of the Night. And the Queen of the Day uh, oversees the kingdom, the land, its roads, its structures. She meets with ambassadors from other lands and is the one who announces laws to the people. And then the Queen of the Night is the one who creates those laws and oversees the handing out of justice and the defense of the monarchy."
That is a monarchy I have not heard, a form of government that I have not heard of before. What? How far is that land?
Uh, he says, good question. He says, I think it's at least a hand, maybe two of days to sunrise. And then what he starts to do is he actually like starts using like berries, and he's sort of indicating, and the impression that you get is this is not like the modern era where borders border up, come up against one another. It's a little looser than that, but then it's a little bit like, maybe Iron Age Europe, where there's a lot of, I mean, there's territories, and the borders may bump up, but really once you get beyond a certain area, it's kind of open. So there are various like city states or kingdoms, are jarldoms or whatever you would want to call it, or even just open areas. And he indicates some places which, since I am not, oh God, sorry, my words just walked away. Since I'm not Matt Mercer, I don't have everything mapped out. This is something that may eventually occur. I've been trying to leave a lot of this open for when people play, they can put their own stamp on it. But suffice to say, he gives you like a rough idea. And you get like I said, you get the impression from what he's telling you is that it's not like everybody's really tightly divided the land up. So there is open, ungoverned space, a little bit like the American frontier, actually, too, where there are pockets that are built up, and then there may be like, an individual homesteader who has to ride for 3 days to go to civilization, but lives out, in the middle of nowhere, effectively.
So does
And
the Great Road go there, or do other roads go there? Yeah.
so, with that, he goes, and by the way, whenever you hear anybody say this, you can sort of hear the capital. He says, the merchants say the great trade road that ends here at Ashcam heads sunward for many hands of hands. They say it takes a season, maybe two, maybe three, to take the trip all the way to its end and back. And some of them who have made this trip say that it ends on a great city bigger than any of us can imagine, that sits on the edge of a lake of immense size that no one can see across. And they say they pass through many lands, including the city of stone and steel, and a land of dense trees, where it is hot and rains constantly, and then through an open sea of grass. I am not sure they are all telling the truth, but the world around the land that is a very big place.
It sounds like it. Really interesting. And the land of two queens is towards sunrise or sunward?
Sunrise.
Sunrise. Gotcha. So in a different direction. Okay, that makes sense. But there are roads
Uh,
between here and there for trade.
yes. Oh, yes. There are many lesser roads that have been. Some are maintained, and some are just
Mhm.
used occasionally. Some are brought, in better condition than others.
Excellent. Thank you. That is very informative. Thank you. I
Ashlyn,
think we have a lot.
anything that you're up to?
Not particularly. She's eating quietly, making sure Jack doesn't skitter off by keeping food right in front of him at all times.
Yeah, Dagfeeth is more than happy to sneak him treats since he helped her play checkers.
All right. And she's just mostly keeping an ear on Lamar's conversation, just out of paranoia
Well-
at this point.
Well, Lamar seems to be engaged in a conversation with Roland, with an individual named Aldous, who is apparently the daughter of the Jarl. She is, you would figure, because farming people look pretty much just like Earth humans, you would probably peg her in her early 20s. ish. So she's about the same age as Lamar, who said he was 22. So thereabouts, which actually probably puts her, from what I think you've been told, that Dagfeith is in her early 20s as well. So you've got a couple people all about the same age, but of different personalities and emotional states.
Right.
But let's get back to Roland. Then, let's get back to Roland. Yeah, beyond the boundary of what?
He takes a moment to think, and he smiles. He says, "It's beyond the boundary of the land that is."
Oh, so you come from very far away,
Yes.
even further, and that's where you two here, even further from Zehan, who comes from the monarchy of the two queens.
We traveled a great distance, and, well, we come from a land that is very different from this one.
Yeah. So,
I have often wished to travel, but I have a responsibility here.
and what might those be?
She's the daughter of the Jarl.
I will be, yeah. And she goes, yes, I will be Jarl in turn.
Ah, okay. Uh, where we're from, typically princesses or rulers' daughters don't have very many responsibilities, which is why I asked.
Have
Yeah.
no responsibilities?
Or very little.
Monarchies from where we come from are generally passed down to the male portion of the line. Therefore, the daughters are used primarily to seal political marriages, more so than to pass on the line of rulership. It's not always the case. There were plenty of matriarchies.
What, one?
I think my father is wise enough to know that I will pick my own husband when the time comes.
Oh, yeah. This place is progressive as hell. This is great.
Sometimes our people were a little backwards when it came to the capabilities of the various genders.
Yeah. And races and all sorts of stuff. But you guys seem like you guys gel here pretty smooth. There's people with like scales and horns and like your whole skin palette, your color palette is different than your dad's. It's awesome. Like, how does that work?
Blink, blink. uh, Actually, let me roll some dice here. Let's see how well she. Oh, not too bad there. Wow, Aldous. Okay. Oh, that's not quite as good as I thought. So she thinks for a minute and she says, "Because I am blue and my father is red."
Where we come from, our people tend to match their parents pretty closely in terms of coloration.
Oh
Correct.
no, the farming people can come and can have many different colors regardless of their parents.
That would solve so many issues for our people.
Yeah, it would. You guys have like recessive. I guess you guys haven't cracked the genome, right? Yeah, never mind.
Yeah, Aldous. Sorry, Indri looks over at you, Edgar, and says, "What did he say?"
He's talking about a concept that you probably haven't heard a lot. I'm kind of curious. When I say genetics, what do you hear?
I'll tell you in a moment. Oh, okay. He says the origin.
So our land has developed relatively far in sciences related to life and biology, and it's I think it started with growing crops, right? A lot of that kind of research started with growing crops and crossbreeding crops and doing, working with plants and eventually animals to look at inherited traits. And it gets complicated, and it requires very specialized technology, but that's what he's talking about, because we look like farming people, but I suspect that we are related, but not quite the same as the farming people. I can't, but without some of that science, some of that equipment, we wouldn't really be able to tell that. But so we look like farming people, and we can probably be considered farming people to a certain extent, but we're not the same. And we wouldn't be able to tell. Anyway, there's a lot of things that we wouldn't be able to tell right now. But yeah, that's what he's talking about. The science of origin of life, essentially.
So Arundi says, I don't fully understand everything you're talking of. I do know that there is great attention by some of the farmers to crops and how they grow. I would say that yes, you look like one of the farming people, but, and he, indicates not of the same coloration.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Can I hear what they're talking about?
Yeah, because they're right across the table from you,
Okay.
and if you two and Lamar and Aldous are sort of talking behind your back. Now, interestingly enough, Thorkell is really not like irritated about other conversations because he's deep. Because if anybody's paying attention, they're discussing the roads, the safety
Mm-hmm.
thereof, the conditions of the markets, any events in this place called the Monarchy, the Two Queens of Note. If are there beasts about? Are there bandits and so on? And just some general news. And so Thorkell seems to totally accept that while he's talking to somebody else, his daughter can talk to whoever she feels like, and the rest of the table can discuss among themselves. And meanwhile, of course, you have Bran providing harp music in the background.
Okay. So then Roland's gonna chime into their little conversation. I believe what he means by the origin is our our people have studied enough that they have learned the building blocks that make up a life, ourselves, the things around us, how not quite how to make those building blocks, but what it's used to determine our coloration, our height. Um, if we have a predisposition for certain sicknesses, um, as well as how to selectively breed animals for traits we want. We learn to breed a certain species of animal to provide maximum amounts of meat. A particular vegetable was bred for a certain color and taste from its two cousins that have completely separate colors, actually. Um, so, because of these studies, our people have learned quite a bit in terms of how to maximize our efficiency.
Yeah.
Well, that is not unknown here. I know that those who breed horses always seek to breed the largest and the strongest and the healthiest of the largest and the strongest and the healthiest.
That's where it originated. We've figured out how to map that and view it down to the smallest detail. We can determine the origin of where someone's family came from generations ago.
Hands and hands, hands and hands and hands and hands and hands and hands and hands of seasons.
So Arindi says, well, we do know where the people of Ashcam came from. About 1,000 seasons ago, they came from Sunward. But you mean something different, don't you?
Um, in our world, we've discovered every as far as we know, we have mapped out almost every single square inch, with a few exceptions. There are certain wildlands where our people have not been able to map due to dangers, things of that nature. And because of that, our people can be, well, have traveled great distances. Um, Lamar and I come from the same Jarldom, essentially. However, his people originated from a different one than my own. And unlike the people here, all of us essentially are built from the same blocks. There's no restriction for breeding. So we discovered a way to trace which Jarldom our families originated from.
Oh, you mean how a farming person cannot have a child with a hunting person?
Correct. Where we come from, everyone is essentially the same, down to the smallest building blocks. The only difference is the outer appearance. However, that outer appearance led to many wars.
So many wars. Or is it just one big never-ending one?
It's, I'd say so many wars.
Okay.
Ugh. And Arindi looks at you, Carlos, and sorry, Edgar, and says, "Everyone is the same." I think that is sad.
In some, when compared to the land, it's certainly different. And even though everyone is the same, sort of, everyone also has their unique characteristics and everything else about it. I mean, we still have individuality and individuals and individualism, and actually a lot of people are very invested in not being the same as other people in some ways. So it's very similar in some ways to the society that you've built here, and very different in other ways. So we can definitely talk about it more further a little bit later if you're interested. Roland is a historian of our land. He knows much about the kind of a lot a lot about our history in particular.
He should speak with Bran then. Bran knows many tales and stories and sagas.
Think of people like your books, Arendi. That's your name, right? He calls over the table with a mouthful of cheese. It's like all the books in your library are books, but what are inside of the books are what makes them different, right? Like the words are different, but they all have two. They all have two. What we call them, covers and
Yes.
pages in them.
I don't. Do you library? Do you have libraries?
Isn't that where you came from?
Most of them were
Okay.
scrolls rather than books.
Ah, okay. Oops. I didn't go inside. I just assumed.
Scriptorium maybe would be. I don't.
He
But yeah.
says, he says, I do not have books exactly. Much what I write is given to whoever needs it. Perhaps a writ for the Jarl to be given to someone, or a message to be passed on, a letter, or if a law is made that is written down, those are in a book. But I think I understand what Lamar is saying.
You get me? He smiles for like very very big. He's like, oh, someone understands what I'm talking about.
It was a good analogy.
Man, I myself as a player am terrible with names, but Roland got her name a few minutes ago, and he's going to remember the
Aldous.
Alice. Thank you. Is she like interested in what we're talking about, or does she look kind of bored?
She was definitely interested in answering Lamar's question about what the food is and what's this and, what are cows from. Let me see here. Oh, okay. She is sort of entertained by what's going on. She may not be listening exactly, but this banter and watching like Lamar get all excited, and listening to the two of you, uh, she's not bored per se, but you're not sure if she's following it, what you're talking about, but is certainly uh, is find it entertaining to listen to you banter and go back and forth. Uh, Certainly, your discussion is more interesting than what's going on over there, which is probably something she's heard before. And she's putting off having to deal with that because it may not be for many seasons before she'll have to worry about roads and kingdoms and events and markets.
Is there like a dance floor? Are people dancing to music?
No, there's nobody up. Everybody's at the table. Realize it's just the 8 of you, and Breck and Vereen are like blathering. They're all the way at the end of the table, so they're blathering to each other. They're like excited about the food and everything. They're trying different things and comparing. Dagfeith is with Freya and Ashlyn. If any small talk they're having, she's sort of part of answering questions, what she knows. She's also somewhat entertained by basically always pulling whatever she puts on her plate. She'll pull like a tidbit off and hold it out to Jack, who very carefully grabs whatever he's handed and nibbles it down. He's actually being on very good behavior. He sort of understands, if I just sit here and look cute and kind of and get into a begging pose, people feed me, so I'm going to work that really well.
He is smart.
So yeah, like I said, if you want to build him as a sidekick in due time, that can happen.
Oh, that will happen.
Yeah, he's not going to be a whole lot of points, so most of it may be in things like int, and such. So let's actually jump to you, Ashlyn. Is there anything that I mean, obviously you're on the other end of the fire pit. You can, because of the acoustics of the hall and because even with the music, it's not that loud. And if you pay attention, you can hear some of what's being said. So you can hear all this discussion going on. Dagfeith is not going to bother you with like, what are they talking about? She's sort of tuned out Lamar because he just goes off on tangents, and it's more work than she wants to put in right now. She is definitely like, this is completely new. I can't wait to tell my mother and father that I sat at the yours table. She's also sort of I got to sample a little bit of everything because I've never, this is an amazing moment. But she's also wants to back you and Frey because you are her guests. And then, so you're guest to her, and then all of you are guests to the Jarl. So she's trying to help you out through anything.
I think Ashlyn's mostly here to make sure Roland, or Lamar rather, doesn't get into any trouble, and so long as he's behaving, she's fine. She's maybe idly toying with the idea of, could I get Jack to wear a harness and leash? But he's on good behavior, so it's not needed right now.
All right.
Lamar is going to excuse himself from the table, and he's actually going to go walk over to the bard.
Okay. So Bran is there, like I said, playing. He is so imagine a long rectangle with some living quarters behind all this. So at the four corners of the table, effectively, are the guards. There's a fire pit. So probably where the fire pit is on one side, Bran is there playing. He's not singing anything. He's just providing music, mainly because if he starts singing, it'll certainly drown out whatever you guys are talking about, and conversation right now is more important. But he will keep playing as you come up, but look at you.
This is wonderful. This is a wonderful song you're playing. Does it have a name?
He does give a name. Says, I learned this from my teacher. It is an excellent piece to play at times like this. provides a wonderful background to eating, to dinner.
Yeah, it was very pleasant. Yeah. Uh, and he's gonna kind of get like a little like he kind of gets like a little wry mischievous smile or whatever, and he takes out an earbud and he's like, can I show you something?
Now,
Will you get in trouble if you stop playing right now?
I am here at the request of the Jarl. I am playing for food later and a bed.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I don't want to get you in trouble. I mean, I'm just new here. I didn't know if you could take a break anytime or whatnot. I just wanted to show you some music from where I'm from.
Perhaps later, after dinner.
Sounds good. Keep doing your thing. And then he's gonna go like walk back over to the table.
So, as you sit down, Thorkell looks over at you, Lamar, and says, I have been told that you have news for me about one of the villages in this land that I protect.
Uh, yes, sir. That is true. My bad. I would have brought it up sooner, but I totally thought that we were eating first. I didn't want to break decorum or anything.
I have finished discussing matters with Merchant Zeon. I will now ask you, while we eat, to tell me what news you have.
Yeah. Well, pleasure to meet you. I am Lamar. These are my friends, acquaintances, cohorts, if you would. We got here. We came to this land about, I don't know, 3, 4, almost a hand of days ago, and we came across fear. We came up on what were their names, Roland? 3 of your constituents. I forgot. I'm sorry. I'm terrible with names. But yeah, we got jumped by, or attacked rather. Sorry, not jumped. Not, you don't know what that means. But we got attacked by giant people, and we drove them away. And yeah, we thought that you could use some help in keeping your foes away from your constituency or your subjects or your peoples, whatever. What is the correct term for people in your country?
So Aldous looks over and says, actually, what does she say? She says something that basically translates to subjects.
Being subjects. So yeah, there's giant people outside Fearcat.
Giant people. How many?
We only saw one, but the people from Fearcat believe that there are many, since they say they travel in groups. We're unfamiliar with their traveling patterns, but we offered to help them. And
So Eric the Valiant speaks up and says, well, as you know, my Jarl, giant people often nest in small families. There may be 2, there may be as many as 6. Thorkell looks basically over, since you 2 are sitting together, looks at you, Roland, and you, Lamar, and says, if this is true, they cannot be allowed to remain. They will do great damage.
Like, are they really that scary?
So Eric states, a giant person is almost twice as tall as most people, and they weigh as many as 2 or 3. They are quite strong. They can lay a people out with a single slap of their hand. And they take many arrows and spears to put down. You bear swords, and your companions bear spears. Do you intend to drive them out yourself?
And he kind of just like looks around the table. It's like, well, we already did, and took about what 15, 20 seconds or something like that. Like
It was a
and
single
he-
one, and we surprised him.
Can't
So
I beg your
Brecken Vereen,
pardon? Could I ask a question real quick about these giant people?
who you talking to, Ashlyn?
It would be the whoever's speaking with these two right now. Is it the Jarl directly?
That'd be
Yeah.
at this moment. Yeah,
Yeah.
you've had one of the Huskarls, Eric the Valiant, who's apparently the captain of the Huskarls, has been giving some information on what he knows about giant people. But the one who is talking to Lamar pretty directly is Thorkell.
I'm sorry. As he's mentioned, we're new around here, and I was just wondering: are the giant people inherently hostile, or is there some way to coexist? Maybe.
So he mentioned motions to Eric. He says, and Eric says that giant people have no language that we can that to speak with. They will come. They will take livestock. They will take whatever crops have been grown or harvested. They have known to take people away who are never seen again. I do not know if they are specifically hostile in that they will automatically attack any of us that they see, but I do know they will take what they can from our villages and towns.
Right.
I do not.
So there.
That answers my question. Thank you very much.
And then Breck and Vereen both stand up and say, Jarl, we intend to drive them out with the aids of these companions who have come to us because they are wonder workers.
He just
You know
turns
what?
and looks at
You know what? Actually, to be fair, because I'm gonna burn an adversity so they get that out, because I don't think anybody was gonna try to stop them anyways. But they are gonna get that out because that's not technically a misfortune, but boy, it may make a bunch of you just all of a sudden be like, oh no.
Yeah, Ashlyn just like closes her eyes, just takes a deep breath.
And you hear Dagfeith point her muzzle at your ear. That's bad, isn't it?
She just like nods. Yeah.
And Thorkell sort of considers and says, well, is this true? And
this
actually,
is what
because I spent actually, before you get to say anything, because I spent the adversity, sorry, Lamar, since Vereen said it first, Brecca says, well, yes, he cast fire, and points at Roland.
We may have some abilities since we arrived here. However, whatever we can or can't do, we haven't exactly figured out how to do or not do them intentionally most of the time.
I can do mine pretty consistently.
Yours
Lord,
involves
Roland.
please.
Roland, you were going to say?
Yeah, Lamar, yours involves swinging a sword.
Mm-hmm.
So
Very.
I'm not even sure if I personally have anything I can do.
Oh yeah. Speaking of which, uh, do I just call you Jarl? Is it okay if I refer to you as Thorkell? Again, the customs here.
You are a guest here. You may
He asked.
refer to me as Thorkell.
I appreciate it. So, Thorkell, how did we get one of these fancy suits? I'd love to to help you drive off these giant people. But it we'd probably be more effective if we had all of our, uh, squishy bits covered, right?
If you need, I can lend you the Scarls to drive out the giant people. If you wish a coat of mail, bring back evidence of such a deed, and I will see.
Do you guys salute? Like, yeah, do you guys have an actual salute? He like looks around.
That is a
Um,
very good deal. And we, I believe, are more than happy to take that on, especially if you're loaning us some Huskarls to help. She's just trying to talk so that Lamar can't continue.
Edgar, do you have anything to add, or are you just quietly watching all this?
Edgar is desperately trying to remember how the weird wonder worker powers he exhibited earlier were happening. That's what he's doing at the moment. Is he's trying to, okay, there was a broom, there was a punch. What is it? Like, how did that work? That is what Edgar is doing.
Okay. All right. Roland, do you have anything else to add?
No, Roland is like, because he brought up the suit. It's like, oh god.
So Thorkell looks at, since you're the one who brought this up. At this point, by the way, Breck and Vereen have sat back down and are sort of eagerly discussing, and Ashlyn can hear this, that, oh, we're going to have some some Huskarls with us. This will be a snap. We've got Huskarls and Wonder Workers. Yeah, we'll drive them out, no problem. And Thorkell looks at you, Lamar, and says, I will send Astrid and Eric. Both of them have dealt with giant people before.
I met Astrid, and I believe Eric. I definitely remember Astrid. Sounds good. All right. Cool beans. So, just to recap, you want me to, take care of this giant problem for you with the help of Eric and Astrid? And I need. Do you prefer like an ear or like a finger or something? Like, is there like how do I bring back proof? What proof would suffice for you?
We'll ask Astrid and Eric to recount your deeds and see if that makes you worthy of a coat.
Appreciate it. Cool beans. Do we do like a super hearty handshake or something? Like, do you guys do the whole like forearm handshake deal, or is it just all in the hand?
Is my word not good enough?
No, your word is perfect. It's definitely good enough. Just where we come from, we tend to seal deals with like a handshake or some kind of form of kinship,
It's a form of
joining of hands to accomplish a goal or something like that.
Roland, you were going to say?
it's the handshake is a physical way of showing. Roland's trying to think of the best word. It's a physical way of showing that you accept another man's word at his word. It's a way of showing that you accept by giving, well, at least in the case of some of our people, because treachery was common, that you didn't have any ulterior motives. It is not. I don't believe it is a thing your people actually have to worry about very often.
So Aldous looks at you, Roland. My father does not lie.
I'm aware. It's a custom from our people because, well, unfortunately, sometimes our people are not the most truthful. He's simply doing it because at the point where we are in our history, it's become more of an accepted custom than a necessity.
So Thorkell says, I am aware that people will lie and tell untruths or exaggerate the truth as it is known. But, Lamar, you have six witnesses? 7 if you count my daughter. And he sort of looks at the Huskarls and then at Brand and Arindi. And Arindi nods like, I've heard what gives this like, I've heard what you said nod, as does Brand. And so if you prove yourself skilled, and if Astrid and Eric tell me that you have proven yourself, then we shall see about a gift of such a coat.
I appreciate that. Alrighty.
And may I just say, Jarl, begging your pardon, he meant no disrespect. It's just one of those things where we're from that, honestly, the reasons why have probably been actually lost. And it's just one of those things that we do because those that came before us do it. And it's just passed down that way. And the reason why is who knows what.
I understand. There are many merchant caravans that end up here following the Great Trade Road, and many of them have unusual customs.
Alrighty. So, like, what do you guys do for fun around here? Do you guys like drink and like arm wrestle or anything like that?
Yes.
Ooh, I love arm wrestling.
So actually Aldous looks at you and says, arm wrestling?
Yeah, arm wrestling. And he puts his hand on the table. Like you join hands and you push it either way. See who's kind of stronger.
It's a test of strength that involves using only certain parts of the body.
So actually you say that, Aldous leans up to you because she's not talking past your back anymore and says in your ear, goes, oh, I was just making sure.
He's very excitable.
I noticed.
So let me if I can. Oh, go ahead.
Yes.
So
Yes.
like I was saying before, Edgar this whole time is trying to get something to happen, right? Because again, this conversation is the whole thing with the giant people is concerning, right? I Carlos have an idea of what Edgar's power might be, so I would like to try to do something, if that is okay.
Yeah. I am also going to say, like, if you feel really stressed, and I'm not going to say in a bad way, but stressed to an extent, I may push over. You may upgrade. You may actually get your new 1.5 version like now. In fact, I don't know if this is a jinx or not. You know what? Actually, no. I don't. Jinx really is like unluck, and I don't know if this is unluck unless it's going to cause all sorts of chaos as people, because people's powers are not like completely uncontrolled. But Carlos, go with what. Sorry, Edgar, go with what you're going to go with, and then I think you're gonna be the first to get your 1.5 sheet in a moment.
So Edgar thinks, but based on what happened before, that perhaps he can make things, right? Or something that could come from him, or he can make things, which Carlos suspects is the construct's power. So Edgar is going to try to make a model essentially of what Edgar looked like fighting not Edgar, sorry, Lamar looked like fighting the giant people. That's what he's been like kind of concentrating on while this whole thing while they've been talking, is trying to make a model of that or some kind of like construct of that on the table in front of him. That's what he's been trying to do.
Roll 4 dice.
All right, 4 dice. Can I spend a resolve on this?
To do what?
Add to the number of dice I'm rolling.
Yeah,
I would like to, if I can, even if it costs me 2, because I have no idea what he's doing. I'd like to give him 1 too, because I want to see this happen.
Well, you can see that he's trying to do something, and he's right across the table from you, so it costs 1. So if you each spend 1, you get 2 extra. You get 6 dice total.
Yeah, because Roland is sitting across from him. He can kind of see him. He's doing something, and the look in his face, Roland recognizes, because he's like, I was doing that when I was trying to throw fire on the way here.
Exactly. Yeah, so he's also like, Edgar is a little paranoid also, right? So we're gonna have to fight giant people, and do they believe that we're wonder workers? Are we wonder workers? So all of this is pretty stressful. With 6 dice, that is 7 successes.
Holy crap!
3 gold,
Okay.
1 silver, 2 blanks.
Yep.
Wow.
So, what you create then is a. Let me take a look here. Let me double check something.
Yeah, I should too. I don't know how.
So what you create is you don't create a super detailed set of models. What you do create, in fact, what you create ends up being like a series of solid objects that make two humanoid forms. So it's mostly a bunch of like cubes. Let's see here: cubes, hands, columns, like a long wedge-like strip for a sword, and all that. And you basically, what you remember of Lamar fighting the giant people is enacted in, maybe a foot or so tall figures, which basically everybody's attention, which would be Aldous, Thorkell, Arindi, the Huskarls are sort of leaning from where they are. The servants are stepping back, and there's sort of this unsaid "ooh" as you demonstrate this interaction right there on the table.
So Edgar is like obviously effort, like he's obviously doing something and obviously putting effort to this, and he's like, okay, Roland, Lamar, I think you're right. I think you were right.
He's like, yeah.
Right.
He starts snapping at the table.
Carlos, please, guess what? If you go into the Google Drive, you will see Edgar Patterson version 1.5.
All right, I will take a look. Thank you.
Now, that character sheet does not contain any information that you've noted on your old one, so please copy it over. Also, I'm going to be very nice and state your resolve is still your resolve. So the fact that you currently have 0 should be whatever resolve that you currently have. You're not going to, your new resolve, and when you upgrade to your 2.0 version, you may have a different resolve number, but you will hold any resolve that you have will carry over until it runs out. It'll make sense.
Got it. I get it.
Right. And then when you're done copying everything over, we'll move your old character sheet to the old character sheets folder. The cool thing is that when this is done, somebody can look at all the character sheets and number and see how your character grew.
Very cool. I see it. It is constructs. Thank you very much.
I mean, what archaeologist can't use a broom and a shovel and a crane? And
all right, awesome. Thank you.
All right.
That's the archivist, not the archaeologist.
Huh?
The archaeologist is not.
It's the archivist. But the archaeologist will use
Archivist.
magic.
Sorry, that's right. I got him back.
Yes.
Well, it fit with some of the stuff you were saying.
Yes, it did.
All right. So when that finishes, there's sort of a moment of quiet, and you can hear like Breck and Vereen. See, I told you they were wonder workers. They don't want to say it like too loud, but they're. I mean, if you could almost tell they'd be high fiving each other at the end of the table and be like, "Yeah, we told you." Um, and Thorkell looks at you, Lamar, and says, "Has what we've been shown true? Was that your actions?"
Um, I had some help, but yes, I did strike the beast, giant person, guy, and then my buddy Roland here slaps his back again, hit it in the face with a fireball, and then Carlos shot it with something. What'd you shoot?
A flare gun.
Yeah,
The flare gun has, yeah. Which probably doesn't translate well, but also fire, technically.
yeah. And then the giant person ran away immediately after that.
So Eric says, Jarl, if this is true, then we should be able to drive this nest out without difficulty.
Alrighty, sounds like a plan, right? He looks to like Roland, and then and Edgar and Ashlyn and Freya, and like, we good?
I think so. Just we're new to this, so just we need to be cautious. I think, but but I do think, I think we have a chance here to help these people drive out these giant people that might hurt them and their villages, and they've been nothing but kind to us. So I think we have some obligation here.
Exactly. Like you guys were worrying me for a second. For a second, I thought you didn't want to help these people.
No,
When
I
did
think
any
we
of
do.
us say we weren't going to?
How much help I'll be, but at least I know some first aid.
Can you like pull like I don't know, like a IV out of there or something? Like,
Well, if I could, I'm not exactly a doctor. Or a nurse, for that matter.
And I am
Well,
definitely
suppose
not a
I
medical
haven't-
doctor.
I have done IVs on a dog a time or two. It shouldn't be that much different, right?
cool beans.
Probably, I guess.
It seems fair.
I don't know how one would fit in there, but I'm also not sure how the mag light fit in there neither.
Wow, thanks, Len. I'm looking at you can pull, by the way, out of game there, Ashlyn. You can pull basically anything in the equipment chapter out of that bag. And interestingly enough, a first aid or medical kit is not listed among the various equipment you can pull.
Really?
Yeah, really. I'm like, okay, I will say that yes, you can do it. So it's not. I mean, one of the things that I will say that if you do, it will. If you look under the medicine talent, it talks. If you can pull something out, you can basically make that roll pretty easily because you have the tools on hand. But yeah, that doesn't actually show up in the equipment list. I was a little I'm surprised. Oh, sorry. Okay.
I just want to note there's a suggestion in the chat to practice putting the IV into Lamar. So if you see that in the audience, so there
That's
you go.
great.
Yeah.
Hold still. This won't hurt a bit.
Not a big deal. I'm pretty vascular.
Just a bit of pressure.
All right. So, if it's okay with everyone, we will sort of do a short little bit of a time skip. So, dinner will end. Thorkell will ask if you have a place to stay. Since you don't, you basically can sleep in the hall here. The tables will be cleared. Simple bedding will be brought out and such, and you can sleep in the feasting hall. He and Aldous will disappear in the back of the hall because they have their chambers back there. Bran is here. Arindi goes back to his hall. Brekka, Dagfeith, and Vareen are here. The Huskarls all disappear. They have their own places to go. Eric and Astrid will confirm that tomorrow morning they will accompany you back. Since you came on foot, they will come with foot, but they'll probably bring a horse because they're not going to wear all that armor to walk from here to Fearcat. So they'll probably each have a horse that they can put gear on. And dinner, or sorry, the next morning. This is, by the way, just want to double check. Is it okay if we do like a time skip to get thing? Okay. We will. I will. This will happen. Like I'll check with you guys. Can we do a time skip? And we'll basically montage until it comes around. Importantly, one of the things that does happen as you all are preparing for bed is that Thorkell will come out with some of the servants, and they are bearing basically something in their arms, and he will go around and present all of you with a fine, like woolen cloak. It's got, it sort of attaches at the throat. It's lined. It has some trim on it. They're in basic colors, but they're all sort of a gray or grayish white color. But he will, give each one of you so that you can use as a blanket with this is yours. And he has 8 of them for all of you. He's not going to stint those who aren't wonder workers just because you guys are. But I would say, Carlos, that 7, which in this case just was how smooth it looked and detailed and how amazing it was to see these constructs reenact the fight, pretty much impressed him. So he's giving you all a gift, all of you, and then notes that tomorrow in the morning food will be served, and then the Astrid and Eric will accompany you back to Fearcat, and will stay there until the giant people are driven away.
So so as we accept the gifts, Edgar will thank you for your graciousness and hospitality.
I have not seen such a thing in my life. I have never seen or met a wonder worker. This is a minimal gift for such someone with such power.
Well, know that I and I can't really speak for all of us, but I think we are in your debt, and thank you for dinner, and you're actually your people who took us in and gave us shelter and food. So thank you.
If you can drive away these giant people without harm to my people, that will be a great deed and honor.
We will endeavor to do so. And he'll look at Lamar, especially him.
Oh yeah, you got it.
He is enthusiastic.
I noticed.
So yeah, Lamar's going to be doing his morning workout routine if it's in the morning. So he's out back doing his One Punch Man workout, because he like if he misses his workout, he's going to be a nightmare. So yeah.
Okay.
all ready?
Breakfast is very simple. It's mainly like something like an oatmeal with bread and some and such. Not really elaborate. Uh, you see Astrid and Eric appear. They are dressed in what basically they're dressed both similar. Uh, they have swords on their belts, spears. They don't have all the armor on, which is apparently on a. They each have a horse, which is sort of loaded with gear, and they are pretty much right after you finish breakfast. They are ready to leave, having an understanding of pretty much how long it takes to walk back.
Uh,
Uh, Brecca and Vereen are just absolutely um, delighted. They get to fight beside Huskarls and show their worth and such. Dagfirth is basically packing up the purchases she made and such, all the things she was sent out to try to return with, which I think included things like nails and such, and getting everything together. And pretty much then you all ready to go.
Alrighty. To
Oh, and you all have, and you can all put down on your equipment list a fine woolen cloak. We will have to ask Freya to. We have to remind Freya to add that when the time comes.
I'll send her a message.
Okay. Oh my goodness! I don't know why I'm yawning. All right. I have a quick. Do you mind if we take a quick break? Because I really want to refill my water. So, and when we come back, we'll have returned to Fearcat.
Sounds good to me.
Sounds
I
great.
think that's
Yep.
all right.
Unless
Tom,
you
ready
guys
to take us to break?
Pardon?
Just making sure Tom, our tech, is ready to take us to break. Make sure he's there.
All right. Unless there's desperately any dialogue that needs to happen during the trip back, other than maybe Lamar being asked by Astrid and Eric if he really fights with those, considering his swords are completely different from theirs.
Yes.
All right, we'll be back in about 10, folks.
Yep. All right. Welcome back, everybody. So you have returned to Fearcat, where all is excitement. It seems that scouts who have gone out looking have located the nest of giant people and know where they are, and preparations are being made to drive them out. And now that you've returned with 2 Huskarls in tow, makes you all just the greatest. Much celebration. So not only do we have wonder workers, but they've brought 2 warriors from Ashcam back with them. So it's pretty much, yeah, we're going to be able to drive them out without a problem. And preparations are being made. So bows are being prepared, spears are being handed out, the body armor, these leather jacks that have been reinforced with smaller plates are being prepared and being put on. Arrows are collected. Torches are being made because fire is a great way to drive away giant people, as far as I know. And the fact that you guys have come in and it's about a half day, the understanding actually is that tomorrow morning they're going to go out and we're going to see about driving them out of the territory. If anybody is wondering, it's not kill them, it's drive them out, mainly because apparently giant people take a lot of killing and most people don't want to get that close to try to kill them. Spear length, arrows, throwing torches, that's great. Getting in there with an axe or a sword, ooh, that is not the most optimal way to do it. On the other hand, Lamar, they saw some people. It's been told around what you've done, so everybody actually expects you to get in there and start mixing it up with them with a sword.
Oh, I aim not to disappoint. So, as everybody's preparing, Lamar would probably go off and like just kind of like get his head in the zone. Uh, so he's probably listening to music and then practicing waza or something along those lines or techniques. So he's just doing some katas and whatnot during the downtime.
Okay.
While he's doing that, Edgar's going to talk to the other folks. How's the wonder working?
Who are you talking to?
I guess Roland, Ashlyn, and Freya. Since Lamar he's doing his kata, seems to
Yep.
be really into that. So I guess it would be Roland, Ashlyn, and Freya.
Okay. Go ahead and start.
Yeah. So that is what Edgar asked. Yeah. How is the wonder working going for you all?
I have no idea how predictable mine will be. However, if you can repeat that trick you did with the statues, do you still have that flare gun?
I do. Would one of you like to hold the flare gun?
Yes.
Okay. I will pass the flare gun to Roland then.
I mean, like I said back at Ashcam, I'm not even sure I can do anything.
At a minimum, your ability to bring out the things from your handbag seems like a wonder working thing, and I don't know that we know the extent of that. Or
I don't know if that's me or the bag.
I was gonna say the same thing. I actually had, but I suspect it's you. I mean, I could, but who knows? Even like we have bags. Can you pull stuff out of our bags? But even if you couldn't, would it be a psychosomatic thing? I don't know. But I mean, you can try if you want to.
It's an interesting thought, isn't it?
I mean, I'm kind of curious. I have aspirin in my bag. What happens if you try to pull out aspirin from my bag?
I mean, I do too.
I mean, no
I've got
harm in
flashlights and
Try it.
Yeah, she's gonna try.
And I will say,
Okay, so-
Edgar actually doesn't have aspirin in his bag.
Doesn't have aspirin in his
Genius.
bag.
He doesn't.
Well,
I'm gonna try to find his aspirin in his bag.
okay, let me take a look at something real quick. You do not find any aspirin in his bag.
Are you sure it's in here?
Maybe it was in another bag. He takes the bag and he starts rummaging through it. Maybe I didn't bring aspirin. Did you say you did, Roland?
yeah. I mean, I've got a couple of different things in here.
Apologies, I threw all my dice on the ground.
In anger.
I mean,
Oh, I just set my dice on the edge of my desk, and when I moved my notebook that was underneath it, it tipped off my desk.
whoa.
Oh, bastard! God.
So in anger. Just kidding.
Oh God, I hope that's all of them. That's good for now, at least. Goodness.
Also, with that in mind, Ashlyn,
Mhm.
if you go take a look in the new character sheets folder, I have dropped your version 1.5 sheet I also have dropped Lamar's and Roland's because I figure about this point, the evening before, a lot of you are sort of stressed, are sort of wondering, or sort of pondering the previous events. So I'm going to say things have manifested up. Also, I think Lamar, I got your name wrong because you've changed it. So you may want to change the name of your version 1.5 because I think I put the wrong name in quotes in there. Or, but anyways, once again, you may want to copy anything you've noted on your character sheet to the new one. We'll continue doing that as you upgrade. And Ava, you can see that you can see what powers you specifically have at this moment. But Carlos, sorry, Edgar, yeah, she cannot pull aspirin out of your bag. You can't pull aspirin out of your bag.
Right. But yeah, Roland, you can, right?
Yeah. Roland pulls out like a tiny little bottle, one of the little travel capsules of aspirin that's got like half a dozen pills in it.
Out of your bag?
Yep. See?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, try Roland's bag, see if anything changes.
He puts the bottle back in. Of course, I also have colored pencils in here, so if you want to try and see if mine will morph into your favorite brand.
All right. Well, I guess we'll pull out your aspirin. She's gonna see if anything else is gonna happen other than just pulling out his travel aspirin.
Okay, wait. You're doing what now?
We're gonna try it, I guess, with a bag we know that's got aspirin in it out of Roland's bag.
Okay.
See if she pulls out the giant bottle of aspirin, or if she can only find like Roland's small travel.
Nope. She only finds Roland's.
Looks like it's tied to your bag. So it as much as you hate me saying it, it really is a Mary Poppins bag.
Now here's the next question, though. I bet it is. I still think it has something to do with Ashlyn. Can we find weird stuff in Ashlyn's bag? And I bet not. I don't need to test
You're
that.
welcome to try. Granted, if you ask Freya, I've already got a lot of weird stuff in there, so.
So how would we know? So I
can tell you if it was actually packed or not. Because I'll tell you, I did not pack a gigantic mag flashlight.
You wouldn't have got that past security, so yeah, I believe it.
I just had one of those itty bitty small metal ones.
You mean like one of these, and he pulls out one of the tiny LED flashlights? Actually, these might be useful. Mostly because, well, bright light. Like, these things are brighter. Like, even during the day, they're very visible. And if we're under trees and stuff, this could frighten them.
That's true. Yes, like that. That is bright.
Yeah. This thing is stupidly bright, and it still hasn't run out of battery power.
Well, that's the thing. I'm not sure. We don't know how intelligent these beings are. Like, just because they don't have any discernible language according to the Jarl or anybody else here, doesn't mean they don't got one.
That is true, although it is odd that we can speak any language and understand any language as far as we can tell. And I mean, as a matter of fact, I just said that in Greek, so yeah, I don't think it mattered. So yeah, it is odd that I think that lends itself to that they might not have a language in the way that we think of it.
That's fair enough, but if I'm understanding all the stories right from what they're saying, it sounds like all them peoples here came from other places.
Yep.
And what if the giant people didn't? Maybe it works differently on natives than.
That's a really, really good point that I did not think of.
Transplants.
But what do you think that means, though? That we, because I think there's still a danger either way.
Yeah, you're not wrong there.
So I do still think they need to be driven off.
And I guess it
mean-
does say something about. I guess they're. What would you refer to it as? Their social structure. If they just roam in packs of families and rely on stealing livestock and crops, then I guess I'm just talking myself out of thinking they might be
They
sentient.
might be. You may not be wrong. We
Or
have no way of
sapient.
really
I
knowing.
can never remember the difference.
Sapient is probably the better word in this case.
Oh yeah, and Edgar will hand roll in 2 flares. Do you have any more flares? There's a question.
I only
can
want the
find
flare
out.
got as a backup.
I guess
I get the
Ashlyn's gonna
feeling-
try and find some flares in her bag.
You can certainly produce more flares for a flare gun out of your bag.
I suppose I do. If you need some extra. I probably could
That is-
pull out another flare gun too.
Well, you can see if you can, and you might need it. Or could you pull out a gun?
My pa did take me to the gun range a time or two.
I mean, you're from the South, so yeah.
Well, now that's just stereotyping.
I'm from Texas, so I'm partly kidding.
Yeah, Ashlyn's gonna see if she can pull out just like a pistol of some sort. Nothing bigger.
Okay. So, because you have no other restrictions on your bag, unless you decide you want some in the future, you can pull any standard equipment that you want out of the bag per portable storehouse. So, one of the things that you can pull out of the bag would be a pistol, which would be the plus 2D ranged pistol, unless you want a snub pistol, which is plus 1D, from the modern weapons equipment list on page 89.
Yeah, I see that. All right. Well, I guess won't be entirely useless in a fight if it comes to that. I'd rather not, but
You definitely didn't pack that. There's no way that would have got past TSA.
of course not. Didn't we just go over this? My bag is apparently magic.
And you're apparently the only one who can access it. What a security system.
Well, nobody's tried yet.
I mean, I doubt I could pull out a flare gun.
Well, not with that attitude, you can't.
All right. Do you mind if I try it then?
I'm sounding like Lamar now.
Are you gonna try rolling then?
Yeah, Roland's gonna try. And he's like, okay.
Well, just go for simple. Try pulling out like some Crayola crayons, because I can tell you I ain't packed Crayola.
Roland's actually like thinking about pulling out a bag of potato chips because he could really go for some fried food.
Just the regular
right.
Lays.
Yep, regular bag of Lay's potato chips. I'm assuming that could count as like some kind of, item that is acceptable, even if it's not necessarily on the list.
Right. Well, here's the funny thing, Roland. Have you looked at your 1.5 character sheet?
Yeah, I have.
All right. So you have 3 dice.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to check something on your power. I'm keeping my mouth shut about what it is specifically. Oh my God. Okay. All right. Here's the problem. Portable storehouse costs 6 points. you only have 3 dice. So you do not have enough dice to mimic portable storehouse yet.
Okay.
So weirdly enough, because it is not on the because if you look at page 35, portable storehouse is one of the things you can't mimic.
Yeah.
Oh, we just lost Ashlyn. Because it's one of the things you can't mimic. Sorry, it's not. Did I say that correctly? It is not one of the powers that says you can't mimic. You can mimic portable storehouse, but you don't have enough dice in your power to do it yet. So you grub around, and you're like, I think, and then you come up empty.
Nope. No potato chips. I could really use some though, man. I'm really in the mood.
Ashlyn just kind of like sighs and
I don't know.
reach into her bag for potato chips.
And you can hand him a bag of potato chips, no problem.
You know,
but it's the snack size, maybe more after the fight.
Thanks. No, I don't know if it was your bag or if it was me, but like that space was bigger than it should have been because I didn't feel the bottom, but there was nothing there. Weird. Thanks for the chips. He's gonna open the bag and start snacking. He is gonna offer like chips to everybody else because this is a modern convenience.
I think Jack definitely pops out of her pocket and will take the offered chip.
Lamar's gonna head his way back. It's like, wait, what, chips?
Yeah, they're just regular, potato chips, but salty, crunchy, fried goodness.
Before battle, man?
Yeah, comfort food. It's a small bag.
That's why it's a snack size.
I mean, I guess it's not me, to hate on you, I guess.
I mean,
it could have been a donkey.
In the mornings, Roland?
Say what?
You want to come work out with me in the mornings? Work off those potato chips?
Aren't we going to like drive off some giant people? I think that's plenty of exercise to work off them chips.
Yeah.
And he gonna like wave his fingers and stuff?
I mean, okay, all right.
There's no saying that don't burn calories.
But the other thing, like, how am I supposed to get it to work? Am I supposed to wave around a stick? Do I have to have a staff? And like, you tell me, like, which wizardly school did I get? Is it Kabbalah, where it's all like, written words? Is it runes? Is it Western magic, where there's incantations and finger wigglings and that kind of stuff? Is it Eastern magic, where it's all like, take your pick? I don't know.
What is your heart?
You should try them all.
I wouldn't ask for Lamar's help. He just give you a bunch of hand signs.
Dude, Naruto chakra is one of the greatest power systems of all time, and don't you dare besmirch it.
I prefer cultivation myself.
That takes years, though.
Fair enough. I mean, Nin is pretty good too, but maybe it's like Nin. Maybe your magic is like Nin. Have you ever seen Hunter x Hunter?
I'm gonna go with no.
Okay, well, essentially, Nin is just a manifestation of your will. It's like you make little bargains and pacts with yourself, and then whatever is in your heart comes manifests.
I think I'm gonna try and if I'm actually a wizard, let's go with somebody that I actually am familiar with in terms of spell casting, and I probably need a staff. Let's go with that. Seems like it's appropriate.
Gandalf or Merlin?
Probably more Merlin than Gandalf, though. If you read the actual text, it's actually kind of boring. They both use the staff. Let's just go with that.
I've read. If you mean the text of Lord of the Rings, I read it.
Yeah.
Many a time. And I get it. He's one of them that's got the all over kind of magic because he's got that kind of magic that doesn't really have any rules to it. That's why his magic is never used to solve any real big problems. Because then that's not as satisfying for the reader because he don't really have to try. And that's why they killed him off when he did. Sorry.
Okay, Ashlyn has feelings about Tolkien.
Apparently,
just
I
stuff
was
to tell him,
more
that's
referring to
all
how
it is.
dry the words are for something that's a more modern work.
Okay, now you're gonna start a fight with them. So, giant people. So what's the plan?
I don't know that I consider Lord of the Rings modern.
Um,
More modern, not exactly modern. Anyway, moving on.
by the way, the next thing we need to figure out is what Freya's wonderworking stuff is. So you know. So yeah, giant people. What is? So did they find where the giant people are?
Yes.
Yeah, they said that they've found them and they'll lead us there in the morning. This is
Okay.
why everybody's preparing right now as he's like wiping sweat off his brow. So what you nerds been up to?
Wonderworking.
I'm sorry, are you calling us nerds?
Absolutely, with all the love in my heart.
I'm sure.
I'm a nerd.
We need to get Roland a staff. Speaking of nerds, where do we get a staff?
I mean, a spear would probably work.
Oh well, I think I definitely have a spear. Did we all get spears, or was it just some of us? I have a spear. I think it was because when I went to the spear person. Hang on. So I guess you can try. Let me hand you over my spear. One sec. I have a
Ashlyn
spear that is versatile.
is going
Oh.
to reach into her bag and try to pull out a replica of Gandalf's staff.
Oh, okay. Well,
I
I'm
used to
fussing around.
have one of those. It was a gift. I can't remember what happened to it.
All right, let's see what happens when Ashlyn's doing that. As I'm fussing with the spear.
Okay, Ashlyn.
Yeah.
Two things. One, you can pull out a replica of Gandalf's staff, complete with the crystal in the top and the pipe and everything.
Yes.
If you want to make that a permanent item for Roland to keep, you need to spend a resolve, or else
Yeah.
it'll fade away in about a day.
Yep, not a problem. Definitely.
Okay. So, Roland, you have been handed a pretty accurate
Man.
replica of Gandalf's staff from the movies.
Huh. Is it the white staff or the gray staff?
I wish
What was her preference? Okay.
And it's real wood. It ain't none of that plastic shit. Stuff.
That. Huh. Thanks for the staff, I guess. I mean, I always thought that if I had to learn how to cast spells, I'd have to figure out which kind of wizard I am. Starting as a hermetic mage is probably a good idea to try. That was the most popular in Western culture, and well, you know, I'm from the West. I'm about as far west as you're going to get.
Are you okay? I'm just waiting for you to say you shall not pass. I'm just okay. Sorry.
All right, hold on. Let's try it. And really, what he's looking at doing is making like the line with the flash of light on the ground. So he's going to raise the staff and be like, "You shall not pass." And then he's going to hit the ground with the staff.
Right.
You could just go
So the
simple and go with the light spell first.
Yeah, so the best way to define that is you were creating a force field in front of you. Now, one thing I want to note, Roland, you're like, I don't have a lot of dice in this. It's because you have a very expensive power per die.
I'm aware.
But also, when you hit your proper milestone, that number will go up somewhat significantly. You're about half. You're a little bit less than half power right now, so you can certainly duplicate a force field. You're going to have 3 dice in it, which basically manifests as a field in front of you with the line, and you can sort of see it. And you can shape it however you want. So you can have sort of like a partial bubble up and around you as you've got, your staff there in front of you after saying you shall not pass.
I feel like the like it's just like a wall So like straight line going straight up, you know.
Okay. Okay. Yep. But you manifest. Oh, oof. You manifest a field in front of you.
If I had to roll, I rolled just in case. I got 5 successes.
Let me see. Yeah, you can use it as a passive defense. So you would roll if you need. Wow, 5 to successes.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Um,
Gonna he's gonna like tap it with the staff.
it seems pretty solid.
I think I shall not pass.
Apparently, you told me to say it, so I did. By the way, I think I'm going to take that second condition. I think it makes more sense.
Okay. All right. Let me make a note of that. Yeah, if you can write that in, we may need to do a little character tinkering when you fully power up, just to make sure we have it right. I don't know if that, and you may have a place to put that extra point, or you may bank it.
Fair enough.
All right. So, at this moment, Lamar. So Edgar, you seem to be able to create forms out of pure force. Ashlyn, you definitely have a bag. Your mom bag is apparently full of all sorts of interesting things. Roland, you're not sure if there's any, you can experiment. There's quite a bit you can do, even with what you have. Lamar, you seem to be Lamar, but then just slightly better, much faster.
Sounds good. I feel like I'm wielding lightning in my hands.
Apologies for yawning. I even took a nap because of my vertigo, and I just seemed all of a sudden, whew, need my second wind. All right.
Lamar's actually going to look for the Huskarls. He wants to talk to Astrid and Eric.
Yep. Eric and Astrid.
He's going to walk up to them and like, how many giants have you guys fought before?
How many what?
Giant people. Have you like how many giant people have you guys fought? Is it like a regular occurrence for you?
Every few seasons, perhaps a family comes in and needs to be driven out. I have dealt with them before.
Got any tips, pointers?
Arrows and spears. Keep them at the length of a spear away. They are much taller than us. Their arms are much longer, and they hit very hard.
No, that
If
makes sense.
we can drive the male away, the rest will follow. But he will defend his family. But all of them can fight.
Okay. Are they
They're a lot like
French?
wolves.
What?
They're a lot like wolves.
Yeah, if they may screech and howl and throw things and put on a show, display to try to scare us. So we must stand firm.
Oh, yeah, you know what they say. Like, yeah. You know, the small dogs bark, I guess. But yeah, what is there? Can you immediately identify just by sight the male and the females? Do they like Do they look different?
Uh,
Is there junk swinging or something? He's up with a straight face.
Astrid says, I think you will recognize a female when you see one.
Oh, okay. So she has that. They have the heavies.
Sexual dimorphism.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, Astrid sort of blinks and then looks at you, Roland, and says, do you understand what he says?
He would have pantomimed breast. You know, like the heavies, like they're the
Yeah,
big.
that's when Roland said sexual dimorphism,
Yeah.
and she probably did not understand what Roland just said.
Right. And then, but then Lamar puts his hands in front of his chest, and Astrid sort of rolls her eyes and says, and basically says yes.
Alrighty. All right. Well, I guess I'll see you in the morning. Thanks for the heads up.
It'd be interesting to see you fight with those.
What?
You bear two swords, right? You're wearing two.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, so-
I can show you if you want.
We'll say, yeah. We'll wait until the giant people.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he was going to pull out like a shanai, like a little practice one, and then be like, "This is how I use it." Like, do you guys have like training weapons?
Yes.
Want to have a little spar?
I don't have any
I'm
with
very
me
interested
now.
to see how you guys fight.
I don't have any with me now.
Oh, okay. I mean, I can go get you a stick.
I think you should try and wait until morning. You'll get a chance to watch them fight.
I'd like to know who I'm fighting beside and how well I can trust them. Like what techniques they use, so I can see how it matches up with my style of fighting. Is that illogical or something? He looks around the group. Apparently, everything I do is crazy.
I'm more talking about. I think I'd rather prevent a potential training accident. Does that sound reasonable? At least.
Nope.
I'm not saying you're crazy. I'm just, being cautious.
Eric says exactly. Now is not the time for anyone to be hurt.
Fair enough.
Not on the eve of battle.
Yeah, they're professional soldiers. I think you're good to go.
All right, Capitan. And he's going to just go ahead and turn in. He's going to head back to the. He's going to head to the. I guess we're in the storehouse, right? Or did we get upgraded when we came back?
Mm-hmm.
All right, he's just going to go back to the storehouse.
Yeah, Roland's gonna wig by and try and stop him before he gets there. It's like I'm not saying it's a bad idea. Knowing how they fight is good. I don't think we've got enough time in case of a potential injury. You see what I mean? Like, I think it'd be a great idea for you to do it. Just I don't think tonight is good.
Hey, it's all good. I mean, I guess you being surprised about how everybody operates in the morning in the heat of battle will be just how things roll out. So he's going to go to bed.
Roland's just gonna be like, I have no idea how I'm gonna do in the heat of battle.
Just so practice. I've been trying to get you to practice from the get-go, to believe in yourself and try to cultivate it. And it's only at the eve of battle now that you want to do it. But that's okay. We'll figure it out. And he's going to turn in.
All right. Did anybody want any armor or a shield or anything like that?
If there is something like a shield, so Edgar has no idea how to wear armor or use armor or anything else like that whatsoever. But if there is a type of shield or something that he could just hold, that might be useful.
Okay. The armor that they are getting out is just basically buckled onto the body. But if you want a shield, they can give you one that gives you +1 die to active and passive defense.
Grab a
Ashlyn's
shield.
going to not broadcast it, but she's gonna reach into her bag and try and pull out like a duplicate of the jacket she's wearing. That high tech kind of armor.
Okay. That is technically real world equipment, even if but there's future equipment and armor on the list, so you can pull out a duplicate of that. If you want it to be permanent, if you're going to give it to somebody and you want it to be permanent, once again, spend a resolve.
Can we spend the resolve for that if she's giving it to us?
Yeah, because it burns a resolve.
I mean,
And basically, it's no different. It's no different than giving someone a resolve to re-roll dice or something.
I mean that's fair.
If you need armor, I apparently have an extra.
Can you
Yeah.
can you do that again?
Oh,
Probably.
Edgar will absolutely burn a resolve.
Yeah, and if she's willing to do it again, Roland will
I guess
too.
she's passing out armor.
That's I don't even know what to say.
It's actually a really good idea if your bag can reproduce this for us. It also kind of gives us something that ties us together, so people know we're a group and stuff like that. I mean, safety, all that.
I don't think gang colors work like that here.
No, but it does for us.
Okay, well, we're going to fight giant people. I don't think we're going to mistake any of them for one of us, or one of us for any of them.
Eh,
And with the exception of some of the farming people, most of the peoples we've come across here are markedly different from us.
what does that
Usually
jacket do
speaking.
again?
It's +2.
+2 the armor.
Okay.
All right, and the way that works, just I want to remind everybody, is you are adding +2 to your toughness, and it's a passive defense, so it works whenever you need to use a passive defense.
That is awesome. Thank you
Oh wait,
so
it
much.
adds
Ashley.
to toughness, not might.
It adds to your toughness. All
Oh,
armor.
okay, never mind.
adds
I
to your
forgot. My
toughness.
toughness changed apparently. Okay. That makes sense then. All right.
Yep.
This is biosilk. Okay.
Right.
I am paying attention, but I'm also putting some quick material together to prepare, because I think we're going to have a fight scene today.
Yeah. Roland is like putting on the jacket, making sure he's got the flare gun in a place where he can reach it easily along with spare flares. This thing has like internal jacket pockets, right?
It can if you want.
Excellent. That's where he's putting the spare flares, so they're not easy. So they're not going to be easy to drop.
Ashlyn's gonna spend a little bit of time trying to train Jack to come when called.
Okay.
Before turning in for the night.
All right.
Kind of like.
All right.
Like
So,
training a rat.
so I'm feeling better all of a sudden. I just as a quick aside, the doctor, I said, I have a 30% chance of having vertigo for like the rest of my life. Yay!
Oof.
But the I was feeling really good, and I skipped one day of therapy because I had a really busy day, and I was like kept putting it off. So not going to do that again. Um, at least I did not have an attack right on camera. We had to cancel one game because the whole screen went swirly, and I couldn't do a thing. Yeah, that caused a panic among the players. I try not to do that here. All right. So, Roland, I saw that you made some changes. We will incorporate those changes into your version 2.0 character sheet. Freya does have a 1.5. She's not here tonight, so we're done with, we can't do anything with that. Ashlyn, if you want to put any limitations on your bag, because one player did, he can't he doesn't want to pull out guns for everybody, so he made like a bit of a limitation. At this point, though, I don't think that's a big deal. But certainly after everybody sees their 2.0 sheets, and if you have some I kind of want to personalize it because I just,
I have some ideas
we can talk
for
about
a limitation that
Okay.
I've kind of been sticking to subconsciously up until now.
Okay.
Mostly it's anything that she's handled or is familiar with. Hence why I went with a
All right.
copy of the jacket that she's wearing. And
Because
yeah.
right, because one thing, if you read, you can pull vehicles out of that bag.
Yeah.
And if you're like, well, and I will say one player hauled a tractor trailer out, took him some time, and he goes into battle in a mecha suit because a mecha suit's on the equipment list under the vehicle list. So if you're like, no, that's, so it might be probably be a -1, so you get a point back.
Mm.
Just want to let everybody know, and some of you will have Lamar, please be aware that when you get your 2.0, because your character had a lot of cheap powers, you're going to have a long list as opposed to some of the other players who I sunk everything into one primary ability because that gives them the dice to be competitive. And that's one of the things I like about P&P too, is that with the idea of dice cap and how everything works. And I also recommend everybody take a look at how things work. Roland, unfortunately, has probably one of the more complex abilities just because of what it can do and how it works. Edgar constructs pretty simple, but you may also want to double check and see because I think it works like a subset of Omni Power, but just read up on what it does. Okay.
Yep.
Sorry about that. So the next morning dawns, and everybody is gathered out there. You have about 30 individuals from the village, and wow. I love the bane of reading things to people is I find all the mistakes that I manage to miss every time I read through without reading it out loud. So what you find is you have Eric, Astrid, Brecca, and Vereen are there, but you also see that you have about 30 villagers, and about 20 of them have shields, axes, spears, and then 10 of them have bows, the ones that they use for hunting. And they're all sort of gathered together. In case anybody cares or is wondering, the villagers are going to be minions, and they have a threat value of a certain die. I'm going to treat Breck and Vareen as minions as well, but they're a little bit more improved. And then Astrid and Eric are going to be a little bit more improved above that. I actually have some notes for what I have little tiny very abbreviated stat blocks. And we will go to Edge when the time comes. So we're gonna I'll make an Edge sheet. Ask everybody for their Edge. Astrid and Eric, I'm gonna treat sort of like super mooks. So they're gonna have like one primary set of dice and then a secondary set of dice, and then everybody else is treated as minions. And they're just a dice pool. Does that make sense? That also means you guys will pretty much, most of you will go first. so you can do all your cool things and show off. Um, so everybody's going to set out fairly early. A couple of the villagers are going to guide all of you. They're going to bring you through the woods. They're going to bring you out away from the village into sort of a more wild area. And what you find, and it turns out that it's pretty easy to get there. They're about an hour or so away. It took a while to find, though, because even an hour away, if you make a circle around the village, is an awful lot of territory. But what you find is they bring you to what looks to be an ancient ruin. And if you give me a quick second, because I quite cleverly closed all my folders, trying to clean up. I only have 2 screens, you know. This is what you see this is a top-down view. You're coming in from basically the bottom left corner of this map. And what you see is there's a hill in the back, which has 4 entrances, flanked by a series of pillars. There's a sort of the hill, or cut into the corner is a tall, let's see, here we go. Let me read it out for you. There's a wide plaza of stone flags, broken and upset along the edge. The back of the plaza is a steep slope, pierced by 4 entranceways. Statues, worn down to be unrecognizable, line the edge of the statue along the hill. A corner made of stone blocks forms a pool. The pool extends into a narrow channel, which branches out into 3 rectangular pools. From what you can see, though, that water is all debris and plants and weeds and things. The far side of the plaza consists of pillars that support a narrow strip of stone. The last 3 have fallen over and collapsed into the grass. They know that the giant people live in the room closest to the pool at the corner, because I've seen them go in and out. The plan is to fire arrows, fire arrows, if they can get them to work, into that chamber, drive them out, and then present themselves in a big loud band and make them run away. That's what they hope happens. However, since they have 2 Huskarls and 5 or 4 Wonder Workers, we'll say Freya stayed behind. 4 Wonder Workers, they've seen that Wonder Workers can cast fire and create statues and fight like nobody else. It's sort of, well, we want to see what you guys do. So at this point, I'm going to start with Lamar. Lamar's, what's your edge?
18.
Wow.
Wow.
That is triple my edge.
Lamar was cheap. I had to double check Lamar at your 100-point version to be or 75-point version. Did I really spend? Is this really only 25 points to do this? Also, the gentleman who couldn't make it with us, yeah, he was also, because of the way I built his character, he had a ton of stuff he can do. He's really cheap. Edgar, what is your edge?
7.
7. Okay. Ashlyn.
8.
8. So based on what you said, Roland, yours is 6.
Mine is, in fact, 6.
Trying to remember how it just calculated. How do I have more?
Because it is based off perception and either agility or intellect. It's like,
okay.
It's a nice balance, because health is based off either willpower. It's toughness, willpower, toughness, and might. So if you're like Professor X and you don't have a lot of might, but you have a ton of willpower, so it gives you a lot more health. It's a nice balance in there. All right, so let me take a look at our giant people.
Wait a minute.
Oh,
So
no.
it's toughness and willpower, or toughness and might combined?
Averaged.
Average. Okay. All right. I was like, why do I only have 3 health then? Okay.
Well, one of the things too is that if you're like, hey, for my next boost, can my physical characteristics go up? I'm like, certainly. Okay. Roland, what's your agility?
My agility is a 2.
All right. All right. So, because this is the first time we've been in like a real fight, um, when people have the same edge, I go by agility because edge is partially based on, that. Um, However, when it comes to, so people at the same age, the villain may or your opponent may or not go before you. All right, minions always go at the bottom. So let me actually not put let me put villagers. This is so exciting for our viewers. I will try. I didn't actually expect to get to this, so I'll try not to make that mistake again. Now as super minions. Let me take a look real quick here. That's my plus 2 martial arts. Is 4, 6. Okay. For those, in case you guys, my players and those watching at home, when I talk about like super minions or super mooks, there's a really cool thing that you can do to make characters on the fly, which I'm sort of doing here, which is the character has 6 dice, the character has a set amount of dice and everything they're good at, and half of that and everything they're not good at. In this case, oh yeah, they're a little bit better than that. Okay. Sorry, I got to do their totals properly. So in this case, just to let you know, Astrid and Eric are good at everything they're good at. They do 8 dice. Everything they're not good at, they do 4 dice. And everything they're good at is attack and defense. Everything they're not good at would be things like willpower, perception, stuff like that. I am not going to make distinctions for any specific people characteristics. I'm not going to go that deep. If in this game, for example, Astrid joined a party because she became the lover of a PC in another game, she would get a character sheet, and then things would be a little bit different. But I'm trying to keep it simple. All right. So. And I will actually make a more permanent edge sheet. I just too many my OC, my ADD, and too many things going on. I lose track of everything. If I don't write it down, I often forget it. Everybody can understand that. All right, Lamar, you were there with Astrid and Eric and Brecken Vereen, who you're out front. You can see this structure. You are effectively, if you look at that drawing, you're at the bottom left corner. Now, you may or may not have begun to realize that you may not move like run faster than everybody, but reflex and reaction time, you are way ahead of everybody. So those with bows are getting them ready, and they're if you've ever seen Gladiator, it's sort of doing the same thing. They're wrapping like dried grass and such and around near the arrowhead and going to try to light it. They've got little wooden little tubes full of like punk, which is sort of a slow burning piece of rope, are such, and they're sort of blowing the coals up and getting ready. Now, Lamar, being Lamar, can wait for the arrows, or he can do his own thing. It's all up to you.
Is he gonna Leroy Jenkins it?
He is going to turn to the Huskarls and he's going to, what is the pinnacle of swordsmanship?
Okay, could you repeat that, please?
He's like, to your culture, what is the pinnacle of swordsmanship?
What do you mean?
Like, how do you know that you've become the best you can? You reach the top of it. And
Astrid,
after
Astrid sort of
thinking, he's
looks
going to draw a sword.
so they're both, by the way, shield and spear. So Astrid's sort of leaning on her spear, and the best, if you were still standing after a fight, that means you were better than them.
Okay, gotcha. And he's just gonna kind of mutter to himself. It's like the power to protect who you want to protect and cut what you want to cut. Protect who you want to protect, cut what you want to cut. And then he is going to make his way into the field.
Okay.
Do I see any giant people?
So you actually don't. Now, the interesting thing is you can sort of smell slightly resembling that of what you smelled when the giant people were around. There's a certain odor to them, and there's sort of a certain odor that you can get as you come across the field into the edge of this plaza. It's not strong, but there's enough of it. It's sort of the smell that you get if you go to the zoo and you go to the monkey house or the primate house. There's that same sort of earthy smell. It's not super strong, but it's there. You don't see them yet, but it's also early in the morning. You're not sure if they're out foraging or sleeping or what, but there is a scent that is slightly different from there's like the water. You definitely don't want to drink that water. It's semi-stagnant. Probably gets refreshed with rain, which is a reasonably common occurrence, but it's full of leaves and mud. There's a lot of grass and growth around, and you were told that the opening closest to the pool is where they are.
Okay. He's gonna make his way. That way, he's gonna be running, and he's gonna be like, "Sasquatch!"
Okay. Let me take a look at your character sheet. Are you running or leap? You're not leaping, are you? You're just running.
No, not leaping yet. No.
Okay.
Making my way down.
Okay.
Running fast.
All right. So you yell out. Your mic kind of went weird when you yelled. So.
Yeah, I was yelling Sasquatch like a.
Okay. So, interesting thing, by the way, when he yells out Sasquatch, it doesn't really seem to mean anything. It doesn't really translate. So, and Lamar, you hear? Come on, where'd my? You should have another No, I can. If I had another monitor, I'd lose my mind. I have two, just to let you. Oh wow, this monitor's got discoloration in it. So Lamar, you yell that out, and you hear a grunt. Now you've basically taken a move action. You have one more action left. You have nothing to hit, so you could do something like hold, and then declare an action based on what happens next, if you really wish.
Yeah, he's going to hold, and then he's just going to hold his action for striking any giant person that, like, tries to pass me or whatnot.
Okay. All right. Um. So at this point, there's a grunting noise, which you've sort of heard before, and the giant person that you saw before, it's kind of got a burnt, like some scarring and some indication that the fur around the chest is gone, comes out and stands up. And we're talking 9, 10 feet tall, massive, probably 800 pounds, looks at you and just does this roar and some chest beating.
Uh, Lamar is gonna say, Siri, it's hero time, and then like the Bleach like theme song, like number 1 starts playing, and now you feel like number 1.
So
Shining.
Ichigo's theme song.
Yeah.
It's a great
Exactly.
song. It's a great song to get in the mood.
Yeah. And then, yeah,
So
he's just like,
So this giant person comes out and is basically, uh, mm, let me see here. Those who have a good naturalist score, maybe like 3 dice, notice that he is like throwing leaves and brush and weeds and sticks and things around, and he's sort of standing up. I mean, bending over to do that, and then standing up and baring his teeth. He's got teeth like a chimp or a gorilla, so he's got pretty big canines, and he's sort of yelling or bellowing at Lamar. So there's a bit of a shouting contest going on, and he moves out towards you. Where are you on the map, Lamar, roughly?
I would be as far in, I would be as far in as I could get in a move action without leaping. So
All right, so you're probably, I'm going to say, if you look here at the top pool, you're probably at the edge there where the grass and the plaza meet. And so this individual is about halfway between you and halfway between the entrance of the chamber that he was sleeping or resting in when you showed up.
sounds good.
All right. So that is his action. His action is to move out, and then his action is to kind of engage in a threat display, which is basically just him bellowing and yelling. Astrid and Eric would go next. Now, what they do is they see what Lamar is doing. They are not sure what to make of all that. He's going to go in, but he does have a sword. So what they're doing is they're commanding the archers and the villagers to prepare and get ready to shoot. And they're going to ask them. They're basically going to have them half target the giant person opposing Lamar, and half fire into the nest. So that's basically their action. They're moving up and down all of the villagers that have come with you. So Ashlyn, you are next.
She doesn't. I mean, she stays back and out of the way. She's not a fighter.
Okay.
Like she said, she's here to patch people up if it comes to that, and let's hope it doesn't come to that.
Okay. All right, Edgar.
Could not unmute. So, one of the things that we can do, I believe, is hold our action in order to defend other people. Right? That we can do that. So, what Edgar would like to do is wait until someone is attacked and try to use a construct shield to help deflect the attack.
Okay. Yeah, what you're going to do now, you can, first of all, you can, if somebody gets hit, in this case, let's point out, if somebody gets attacked before you go, you forfeit your next action to defend them. Since
Right.
since people after you may get attacked, what you're basically doing
Oh,
is
okay.
holding your action to go to defend others.
Yeah, that's
Perfect.
what I'm gonna do.
All right. Anybody, you can. There's some movement in that far chamber, but no one else is coming out yet. Roland.
I've been looking at what my power can do, and I have some ideas.
Okay.
And I've realized one of the things that Roland can do is emotion control potentially, because it's not one of the things that's not on his mimic list. And well, you know, in his mind, there's more than just wizards, because you know, uh, Gandalf specifically has used fear effects before. So what he's going to do um, is he's going to uh, use the music, because I'm assuming the music can be heard, unless it's just in his earbuds.
Oh no, I'm playing it on the phone. Like,
Yeah. So what he's gonna do is he's gonna use that sound and use emotion control to basically, because it's supposed to be hyping up Lamar, but what he's planning on doing is making it to using that music because it's not something they've ever heard before. It's from our world, to scare the the male who's stepped out first. So yeah, I'd like to try and use emotion control to cause fear.
Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to roll your emotion control, your omni power. Surprise, surprise! He has omni power sorcery. You're going to roll your omni power versus the target's willpower.
Right. I'm going to use a resolve because it's the first time he's using it, and he would normally need to. He doesn't know the song, but one of the things that he's going to do is he is going to say, "Do not take me for some conjurer of cheap tricks." AKA, he's trying to quote things as often as possible from books and movies that are relevant to magic and spellcasters to fit the situation.
Okay. I want to see Roland cast the hoary host of Hoggoth.
I haven't read as many books as Roland has. However, I'm going to be looking up quotes like crazy to research the stuff that he might say. And if it's out of context,
Okay.
let me know. So, essentially, what he's doing for that emotion control is he's manipulating the shadows and lights around
Okay.
Lamar, who's up front, and making the sound louder, blah, blah, blah. And I'm
All
burning a
right.
resolve
So,
for it. So.
okay. Quick note. What you do also, because I don't know if you've ever dealt with this kind of what this does, or to let everybody know so they understand where this is going. And I'm not going to try to like explain the game every time, but I want you to be aware what you're doing is called a status effect. So if you get more successes than I do, we divide that in half, and your target is affected by that, by the fear, emotion control, for 1 page for every 2 successes better than me that you get. Okay. So I'm going to roll the giant person's willpower, which is not much. Oh, crap.
I got four successes.
Okay, I got a 1. You know what? I'm not going to re-roll because that's about as good as I can get on what I rolled, but I'm going to spend an adversity and add a die. And then prompt. Okay, I'm going to re-roll that because it went wandering off the table. Oh, jeez. Okay. All right. So you got 4 successes. I got 1. That is a difference of 3. Divided, it's 1 point half. We round up. The giant person is under a fear effect for 2 pages.
Very nice.
Okay. Now, Roland. Okay, Brecca and Vereen are going to run up and try to flank Roland, Lamar, because, dude, if they can help him, that'll be awesome for them. So that's their action. The villagers, half of them are going to fire some arrows, and then the other half are going to fire some fire arrows. So I'm gonna ask you guys to do the following. I want 2 volunteers to roll 7 dice and give me a result.
I'll do one of them. I got my dice out.
All right. Who's rolling? Or who's rolling the 7 dice? You, Edgar?
Yeah, I'll roll one.
Okay, so you're rolling. Your attack is against the giant person. Whoever rolls the other one, we're just going to see how well they set fire to the nest.
Cool. I'm rolling the other one.
Okay.
Okay. That is 6. Okay.
4.
4. All right. That's 4 dice against a structure of straw. So there's some fire going on there. So like 5 arrows come down, and you see Lamar. You see 5 arrows come down all around this giant person, and 2 of them sink pretty deep. So he's taken 2 health out of however much health he has. Interesting enough, he's also stopped roaring. You heard Roland say something back there, and this 9-foot tall Bigfoot Sasquatch giant person is sort of recoiling from you, almost in fear. Okay, so that's the end of the first page. We go up to the second page. Lamar, it is your action.
Lamar, after seeing the dude kind of take a step back, he's like, "Now's my chance!" And then he's just gonna leap towards him and try to strike at him.
Okay. Let me double check something really quick.
I'm assuming I'm within, what is it, 50 feet? 50 feet? Am I within 50 feet?
All right, so you're hitting him with an edged weapon, which is a lethal weapon, so I have to go with my power. Oh boy. What'd you get?
Okay. Oh, I didn't swing yet. I was making sure I was within range here.
Oh no, you can easily. First of all, one of the things that could happen is you could unconsciously leap the distance and hit him, but you could probably run up to him and throw a shot as well.
Okay. Well then, yeah, I will spring forward into action. So I'll leave. I got 3 hits.
All right. Well, I got 3 as well on my. So you now.
Oh,
You
I have
know,
more.
there's some things that may happen but before we go for any rerolls, initially what's going to happen is you're going to hit them and realize, yeah, there's a reason why they don't like fighting these guys. His hide is pretty thick and heavy.
Gotcha. All righty.
Can I use my leadership?
All right. So, Ashlyn, just to be clear, you have 3 leadership. Technically, have 3 leadership tokens for the PCs. I don't think. I'm a little leery about Brecca Vereen and Astrid and Eric getting leadership as their NPCs. If they were sidekicks, it'd be a different matter. So how do you get him to re-roll that?
Oh goodness, it'd probably be a quote from some anime about redirecting, or telling him where is a better place to hit to redirect his strike as he's.
I mean, you could always remind him of there's a major anime character in a fairly popular anime recently who has a major scar that gets targeted at one point.
Mm.
So because in My Hero, All Might has a huge scar on his side, and this particular creature has a huge scar on his chest.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Go for the All Might.
I'm sorry. I unfortunately, I'm not. I go really old school with that, and I just think Lamar, the blow that must be answered, which is Book of Five Rings, basically.
Yeah. Oh,
So Lamar, what this means, Lamar. Yeah. So Lamar, what this means is Ashlyn has leadership. She has spent her leadership token for this fight on you. She has spent yours. So you might want to mark that, Ashlyn, that you've spent one. You get to re-roll that for free. Your strike.
Okay, so even do I have to re-roll the successes too?
All of it.
You re-roll all the dice and get the. And if it's a better result, you keep that.
All right. I'm gonna use. I have a point of luck, so I'm gonna try that out. So I'm gonna use that. Is that cool?
Okay, so burning your die of luck, you can add a die to your attack.
Sounds good. It's like I gotta put my back into it.
Put your back into it this time.
Yeah. Yeah, way better. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
All right. Oh, I know what I can spend it on. All right. So you know what? He takes 2 points from that. So you thought initially that this shot, was just going to deflect off his rock hard abs. Not that he really has abs, but he's got that solid torso. And you hear Ashlyn shout something, and I like the idea that you kind of aim for where he got hit with fire and a flare, and this giant person just bellows in pain. All right. So, I hate to do this to you, Roger, to you, Roland, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to spend an adversity. Now
All right.
I only have like 4, so we're getting low. And I am going to break out of the special effect of being afraid. Mainly, and this kind of ties into your jinx. Oh, you know what?
I
That's
mean,
the jinx.
yeah,
That's the jinx.
he's going to attack Lamar. That's a good
Well,
jinx.
right. What I'm going to do, actually, so let me back up. The jinx, your jinx is he just got hit. The pain that Lamar inflicted breaks the fear, so he's going to just slap Lamar back out of reflex and all that. So the jinx, of course, is that I could do some serious hurt to Lamar. So Lamar, you need to prepare whatever your best defense is from getting a slap.
Getting a slap. Okay.
Ooh, not bad.
Okay.
So I have a question here. So I was holding my action to try to defend someone. In this context, would that be a combat stunt, or what would that look like?
No, what you're doing is sorry, I forgot about that. Thank you for reminding me. What it is so Lamar, don't roll anything yet.
Will not.
Where'd it go?
Defending others is on page 78.
Thank you. There we go. So what you're doing is, well, okay, I'm going to declare, because this is a slightly different case, you have the ability to use your power range. So you are not jumping in front of him, but what you are going to do is put your power in front of him. So you're going to use your constructs as a active defense for Lamar. And because you were prepared, even though Lamar is super fast now, you roll your constructs versus my might.
Okay. I'm going to burn a resolve on this roll. Because
Okay.
just I have a mechanical question later on. My constructs are probably not as good as Lamar's active defense, so this might not be a good idea. So that's why I'm checking on
Well,
Uh,
let me put it this way: you don't know. I mean, you guys are still new to your powers
Yeah.
and everything, and you said you were going to do it.
Yeah, I'm
So
gonna
let's
do it.
just
That's why it's
yeah, let's
that's why
just
it's
go with that.
I'm gonna burn a resolve on it.
Uh, Now we are
I,
on a new page, so you are burning your action for this page.
Yes.
Okay.
That's not great. So actually, it's okay. It's 4 successes.
All right. I am going to burn a result, an adversity, to roll one more die. You guys are now should also realize I have some of the worst dice luck.
So do
18
I.
dice, 18 dice, 5 successes. Okay, I'm going to burn one more adversity because I got a 0 on that.
If you want to talk about bad dice luck, I had an entire session where I rolled, and I rolled 7 times, and in those 7 dice rolls, on 2 dice each time, by the way, one of them was a D20. The other one was either a D2, a D4, or a D6. I rolled higher than 10 once.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh no, if you ever really want to see like bad dice, like they ran the math and it was below average dice rolling. Watch the Critical Role episode where Will Wheaton is on, and he gets he gets 120 in, I think it was 2 4-hour episodes. So in 8 hours of play, he got 120, and had some of the worst die rolls. And they said, yeah, he rolled below average. It was amazing. Okay. So, Edgar, what happens is I burned the rest of my adversity, and I got a 5 to your 4. So, Lamar, I'm going to say, because I'm also going to say, so Lamar, you don't roll any dice, but you get tagged, and I'll say what happens is this is part of the jinx. What do your constructs look like now that you're
In
sort
this
of, I mean,
particular case, yeah, in this particular case, he's just throwing up a force wall. It's really simple because he's never done this before. So he's just like throwing up a force wall in front of the punch, from
is it,
from the
is it,
ground up.
right? Does it have any color to it?
So it will in this particular, so right now it will, and because Edgar, for some reason, the only thing that he can think of right now is that terrible Green Lantern movie with Ryan Reynolds. So it's a green wall essentially.
So Lamar, you're going to take a point of health, and first of all, there's a jinx going on, and what happens? You see this open hand come at you, and you get ready to defend, and this green fuzzy barrier, this fuzzy, force field pops up in front of you, and the giant person is startled by it, but they're enraged with pain, and they really can't stop fast enough this swing, and it hits and it shatters. It kind of shatters into little panes of force as the might overcomes Edgar's current will to keep it together, and you are just clipped and take a point of health.
ah,
Um, what Edgar may not hear, but Roland and Ashlyn hear is this. It's all. It's like being at a sports game. Everybody else goes "Woo," because they're seeing Wonder Workers in action. Also, your strike was amazingly fast, which also got a sort of ooh reaction. All right, let me find my edge chart. Giant people went Astrid. Giant people went Astrid and Eric. Seeing that you're in melee, they come charging down to try to back you up, but the distance is such it's going to take them basically their move to get with you. Ashlyn, you cannot spend any more. Oh, you could have leadershiped Edgar if you really wanted, but you can't spend anything on Lamar. Anything that you're going to try to do now? You're on mute.
Mm, I'd love to. Let's see. I was just looking at the combat stunts. Basically, she wants. Basically, it's a taunt. I want to get its attention split, and yeah.
All right, let's go take a look at special effects. No, there we go. All right. So you're going to use charm or command, whichever is better, against your opponent's willpower. So
Yeah.
you're trying to get them. You're trying to distract them from fighting, from turning Lamar into pulp
Yes.
and looking at you instead.
Yes.
Wait. Pause.
Okay.
I forgot something. At this point, before Astrid and Eric move, and it's not really going to make a big difference other than that. So coming out of the same chamber that the adult male came out, you see an adult female come out. Lamar's a bit busy, so he can't do the visual confirmation that he was told to look for. But she comes out, followed by a roughly 6 foot tall young, like child. Now, granted, you know, the male is like 9 or 10 feet tall. The female is probably 8 or 9, probably about 9 feet tall, and the child is like 6 feet tall and built. They all built the same way. Right now we need a camera, and you can reenact the Patterson footage. That's a cryptozoology joke that not all of you may get.
I got
um, Oh, slight plug. Hopefully soon, my Bigfoot Yeti and Wendigo product for Prowlers and Paragons will be going up on the Drive-Through RPG. So you can read all about Bigfoot and historical accounts and such. I'm going to pause for a minute, everybody. Okay. I'm moving my head too fast, sorry. So you see the adult female come out. Actually, the male can't come out yet. His edge is much lower. And she does the same thing. She sees all of you out there. She sees her mate under battle. And she's going to basically move and do the same thing. Scream. Threat display first before attacking. So Lamar, you are kind of aware of basically a second giant person voice, but you are right now face to face and in melee with the big male. How tall is Lamar?
he's 6'4".
Oh, okay. So this guy is way bigger than you, but not quite as dominatingly way bigger as, say, for some other people.
Like Freya at
'Cause-
5'2"?
Yeah,
Or not
yeah.
Freya, Ashlyn, my own character.
Ashley, yeah. Ashlyn, that's the scary thing about this thing is that you know how tall Lamar is, you know how tall you
Mhm.
are against Lamar. So the idea that this thing is twice as you're like, this thing's almost twice as tall as I am. It's gigantic.
Mhm.
If you want to get an idea, by the way, for those watching at home, I cannot remember his name, but the tallest person that we know of ever lived, who was 8'11" and still growing. There's some pictures of him next to normal height people, and it is crazy. Yeah. So for Ashlyn, you would come up to maybe below this thing's hip.
Mhm.
That's how big it is.
I'd like to not
All right.
get any closer to it than I am already.
All right, Ashlyn, you were going to try to do a combat stunt versus the. I am out of adversity, so I am now stuck with my die rolls.
Good.
So it's going to be versus his willpower. Now you're going against the male, right, to keep it from
Yes.
pulping Lamar. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, well, now my dice decide to play nice.
I am going to, because I'm using charm, I'm going to use a resolve to explode my 2 6s that I got there.
Okay, I got a 3.
6.
All right, so you beat this guy by 3. You have 2 options because it doesn't have a weapon to drop. And it's either the creature can't move or the creature is -2 to all challenge rolls. I will tell you right now, especially for the combat stunts going forward, the -2, it's to everything it does until Ashlyn turns comes around again. That is the thing to pick.
Yes, that's
Mhm.
what I'm going for too.
All right, so it is at -2 dice to everything. All right, so Ash, that was awesome. And what were you doing? Screaming and yelling and waving your arms? What was your distraction?
I mean, it was basically that, yeah. The way, I guess she would probably default to, like, what is it? Is it the brown bear that you act big? Or the black bear?
Uh,
One of the two. The
Big.
black, I think. Like a black bear, you're supposed to act big and scary and
Yeah, because they're the smaller ones.
intimidate it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's kind of what she's doing. Less trying to intimidate and more just trying to, hey, there's other
Ashland's-
people over here.
Ashland's
Okay.
threat display.
Yeah.
Well, it is certainly distracted from what's going on with Lamar and everything. Part of it also is it's slowly putting two and two together, and that the arrow sticking out of it came from those guys. So it's not sure who to punch next. At this point, the young comes out, and it's not sure what to do. So it's looking at mom and dad, and going to follow their lead. But now there's three of them. Roland. Now there's three of them.
Awesome. He's still focused on the big guy because the big guy just slammed into Lamar. Okay.
Yeah, it just reached out and did this amazing slap and shattered Edgar's defensive field. Now, granted, Edgar, you absorbed an immense amount of damage doing that, but it shattered it.
Okay, so the one thing I wasn't clear on, how often is a page?
Every time. Okay, so a page is Lamar to the villagers. So right now we're on page 2. So the whole thing about you don't have a lot of dice. So 3, 2, 1. You are back to 3.
Okay, all right, excellent. That's what I wanted to make sure of. So what he's gonna do, the next thing he's gonna do is he's gonna tap the staff to his hand, and he's gonna say, "How about a little fire, Scarecrow?" And he's gonna lift his hand and sort of baseball pitch a fireball at the male again, because
Okay.
he's quoting the Wicked Witch of the West.
All right. So I before you do that, I believe I've stated that we do use the gritty combat rules.
Mhm.
Let me make sure that those got posted.
They did, I believe.
Crap. Wait, is it on the cheat sheet? Yes, if you look on the cheat sheet, there's some gritty combat rules that are there. And this would be friendly fire which gives you a -4D penalty, and you really probably don't want to do that.
No, I don't.
I hate to say that, but I'm trying to balance supers with this more sword and spear and
Right.
such combat.
Is the female then? Is the female close enough that would be a problem?
No, the female is over there. Now the
Okay.
female doesn't have any minus dice, but on the other hand, she's nowhere near the melee yet.
Yeah. And since fire is supposed to, scare them, and I
Yep.
definitely do not have enough dice to be firing magic into combat.
Fair enough.
Ooh, jeez. Okay.
Yeah, because I was just looking at using blast. If
Right.
I use the flare gun, can I get any kind of bonus for that to basically make the flare burn hotter?
Ooh, yes, because what you're imitating is the boost power.
Ah, that's what I'm going to do then.
So
Use
what
the
you're doing is you're using your omni power to add 3 dice to whatever I said the flare gun did.
I didn't. How many? What did the flare gun give, Carlos? Because I think you wrote it down.
I am looking for that right now. Flare gun. I removed it from the sheet, so give me a second. I'm not actually sure. Flare gun. Hang on one sec. Here we go. Like a muzzle flare. I'm not sure. I didn't do a lot. It just did set the thing on fire, and I think it was an agility roll plus something.
It is. Okay. So I'm gonna say agility plus 4 dice.
Agility plus 4 dice. Okay.
So roll your agility and add 4 dice.
Okay. Which is not many, but it's better than what I had. Six successes.
Okay. Oh, sorry. I I rolled 4 on 3 dice. However, you get 2 successes, so I can't do any re-rolls. You do 2 health, and you've hit it with fire. So you've hit it with sort of a much more concentrated a flare of energy. So the female sort of screams and shrieks and is smoldering a bit, and is going to try to beat that out on itself. But you have certainly distracted it from punching Lamar. All right. So Brecker and Vereen are flanking Lamar, and they are both going to try to attack together. And what they are is they are a 4-die threat, but they attack is 6 dice. I'm going to say, Lamar, why don't you roll for your 2 battle companions? And I'm going to roll. Oh, crap.
You said 6 dice?
Yeah. Thanks, Ashlyn. I got to recalculate. Let me see. 2 dice, 2 dice. That gets halved and then reduced by 2. Thanks. I only get to roll 2 dice.
Nice.
I got 5 hits.
You're welcome.
I got 2. You got 5, huh?
Yep.
So,
2 6s and a 5.
all right. Well, that was very well rolled there, Lamar. What happens is they come into either side of you, and they both slam their spears forward, and basically, the spears cross through his stomach. And he's like distracted, and he wasn't even trying to evade. He was sort of just caught flat-footed, and they both slam their spears through, and the male kind of crumples down and collapses. That leaves the villagers. The villagers are now going to concentrate their bows on the female because you just hit her with fire. And once again, I'm going to ask you guys to roll me some 3. No. Let me double check that. It is 7 dice each. So somebody roll me some 7 dice, and I'm going to roll 2 armor defenses.
I got one of them.
Oh, wait a minute. What's their agility? What is her agility? Ha 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 ha! I actually get an extra die. Wow. Wow. Who wants to go first?
Go ahead, Ashlyn. I'll do the other one, I guess.
1, 2, 3, 4.
4?
Yeah, I got 2 6s.
All right. So that didn't do anything to her. Next barrage of arrows.
I only got 3.
Okay, so amazingly enough, she sees this cloud of arrows and is rushing. She's not moving, but her defense is rushing to her mate. So they all either hit and don't go. Like she's stuck with a few and some miss. Yeah, I rolled incredibly well twice, like sixes. I rolled 4 dice and did over 4 in each roll. I don't understand it. I was rolling terrible, and now without any adversity, the dice have decided to laugh. Okay, so that was the villagers. Okay, so once again, that's the end of a page. Roland, your dice would reset. Now you haven't done multiple uses of your omni power in one page, but it would reset. Lamar, you can go. Your initial opponent has been slain. You do have this other one who is also hurt, kind of smoldering and smoking, is there, and she is rushing forward to look to basically where the mail has dropped and is looking pretty pissed at you, Brecca, Vareen, Astrid, and Eric.
He is going to draw his second blade, and then he's going to tell Brecca and Vareen, like, watch out, and he's going to like leap towards the female as she's charging. So she's trying to like 2 trains colliding, like that thing.
So what all of you see is Lamar from like a standing start probably leaps like a leaping person, probably covers like 20 feet in just a hop. He probably doesn't even realize what he's done. All right, so you're going to try to hit her with your swords?
Yes, sir. Let's see. Do I have anything other? Okay.
Let me do a quick look at your sheet at 1.5.
I have a resolve left to spend.
Right. Your second sword is not adding anything to your damage, but it looks cool.
Yeah.
Oh, you do have the Book of 5 Rings, yeah.
Yeah.
So while he rolls real quick, the blow that must be answered, which is what I was taught in SCA Greatsword, is you throw a shot directly down, because if your opponent doesn't do anything about that, you hit him straight in the head.
Yep. And if you block, you get on your tippy toes like you're comparing heights.
All right. What did you get, Lamar?
I got 4.
All right. So I got 3. Can't do anything about it. So you hit her and wound her, and once again that roar of anger becomes a further scream of pain. The female is going to do 2 things. It's going to take a slap at you and then run. So I am going to roll might versus your active defense, which is better than anything else, which is your sword skill.
I think my evasion's better than my sword skill.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it could be. Let me see here. Wrong character.
My evasion 8 and my swordsmanship is still 6.
But your swordsmanship adds your
+2. Yeah, I get +2 with the sword, right?
Yeah, what it is, it's okay. So it's either way. It's 8 dice and 8 dice. The difference, of course, is that if you don't have any weapons on you, you can't use your swordsmanship, but you still have your evasion.
Makes sense.
So,
all right, so yeah, I will use my sword then, because that's way more badass.
Right.
I got 1, 2, 3, 4. So 2
4?
5s. Yep,
I got 2. Right. I got 2 6s. I got 2 2s and a 1. So I got a 5 to your 4. So she's going to clip you for another health.
All righty. Ouch.
Okay. They are powerful. They are actually they're quicker than they look. They're very tough, and they hit hard. But she then turns and runs away from the scary people with swords and spears and arrows and shovels and rakes and implements of destruction. And she goes running basically toward where the young one is. Astrid and Eric. Astrid and Eric are going to both run after her and hurl their spears. So I'm going to ask whoever wants to. I need 2 8-die rolls.
I'll I'll roll one of those.
Well, that's where it comes. Now it comes into play.
I think Ashland's having dice issues. Does one of you want to roll the 8 dice, or Lamar?
I mean, yeah, I'll roll it. I have 8 dice chilling right here.
Yeah.
There you go, guys.
I got
Got it.
3.
I got it.
Okay. Oh, you got it?
I forgot I was muted and you couldn't hear me.
Yeah.
Wow. That was incredibly bad. I got 1 success.
I got 3 successes.
All right. So I'm going to go with Ashlyn first. Ashlyn, you got 1 success on 8 dice. I got
Yep.
0 on 3. So that's a
Wow.
wound. Roland, how much did you get?
3 successes.
That's another wound. And she is still alive.
Where did that
Um,
go?
Okay, so Ashlyn, oh, you're looking for dice, but it's your action
It's
if you're
fine,
going to
yeah.
take anything.
Well, Ashlyn would just be like seeing that they're fleeing. Is it just the woman that's fleeing, or
Well,
are the males?
the young one hasn't had a chance to move yet, but he is starting to he's out of here. He's getting ready to run away.
Okay, and the adult male, does he look?
Well, the adult male looks pretty dead.
Oh shit. Okay, I missed that. Yeah, I
And
mean,
the adult
Ashlyn would just be
female
calling to.
and the adult female has been hit with spears and sword and fire. Looks very much in very badly hurt and is trying to get out of there now.
Yeah, no, Ashlyn would be actually calling to all of them to stop and let them go. Or just to drive them
Okay.
off, not kill them.
Right. Edgar.
I guess hearing what Ashland said, he's going to make 2 hands really large and clap to try to scare them off by making a loud noise. That's what that's all he's going to do. They're already running.
Okay,
I don't know
so
if I actually need to do that, but
if you want, you can make that into a combat stunt.
Sure, yeah, get them to run.
Which,
And
in
I
this case, you were trying to unnerve them and get them to run away. So, what is better, your charm or your command? Or actually, you're using a power. So,
I'm using a
use your power.
Yep.
Versus their will.
All right.
Oh God.
I got 4 successes.
I got 2. I got 0.
Right.
So your options are minus. So some of your sample effects are to -2 to challenge rolls, drop item or weapon, can't move, but you're specifically wanting them to flee. So I would
Yes.
say certainly it's going to be at least 1 page of fleeing. So that loud noise and strange powers in the air is certainly making them run. The giant person is in fact going to basically run. They are done with this. There is fire and smoke and loud noises and huge hands clapping the air. It is just too much for this youth. He is, if you look at the map, he basically starts scrambling. He's pretty tall. He starts scrambling up that slope and away, and is probably not going to stop for some time. Roland.
All right. So the youngest one is the young one that we see is male, correct?
As far as you can tell, it's male, and it is trying to get out of there.
Is the adult female still running, or did she go? Is she still?
Well, she just has been hit with a combat stunt and is definitely trying to run.
Okay. Roland is going to, against his better judgment, because normally wild animals he wouldn't worry about. However, it behooves them to deal with as many viable producing of these things as possible. And she's an adult that is very obviously already born a child. So he's like, all right, we need to make sure she doesn't get away to reduce on the number of viable offspring later.
Okay.
So he's going to reload the flare gun.
Okay.
And then he's going to fire at her again.
All right. It's the same thing. That same boost versus her agility. because it's a ranged attack.
Words later.
By the way, Roland, you're somewhat educated. You're seeing what you're seeing and some of the things you hear. You strongly suspect that that while they look like orangutans and kind of have the family group of a gorilla, you think their behavioral pattern is more like a chimpanzee. So, like, yeah, they may just eat other people's, just like chimpanzees eat other primates.
Well, he kind of figured, since people aren't seen ever again, that they are man eaters, and that's dangerous. Which is why
Yeah,
he's
well, one
okay
of
with
the
going, let's reduce unviable creatures that can produce more offspring.
damn. Yeah, well, there's also the rumor that men who are captured are eaten and female who are captured are not.
Oh
But
no!
we'll leave it at
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That's
So I
but
got
there's no
I
proof.
got
So
five
what did you
successes.
Oof, I got 5. Now, I will tell you this. That's really good for what you did. So she's only got 1 health left, and I can't do any more rerolls. If you can get 1 more success through people giving
Well,
you resolve or
I still
something.
have,
I was
I
gonna
still
say,
have
can
a
I do
bunch
the
of
opposite
resolve.
and interfere?
Now, Ashlyn, if she wants, could give you a leadership free reroll, and then if that doesn't work, because you stick with the best result, if somebody has a resolve or 2, you can add some dice.
I'm willing to spend a couple of resolve, because Roland is thinking about it of, basically going, he doesn't want to kill off the species, but he wants to reduce on the number of encounters between these creatures and, essentially society.
Okay. So
So
spend your
I've got
resolve and roll your dice.
I got 2 more. Two
That
more
does
successes.
it.
That's a total of 7.
Yep. Well, I can't do anything because I've run myself out of adversity. So you hit her with the flare gun, and there's a big with augmented by your sorcery omni power, and so she's sort of engulfed in flame, and
It goes with the quote when he goes, "This girl is on fire," and pulls the trigger. He's running out of quotes, so he quoted a song.
problem is I played a lot of Team Fortress 2, and all I can think of flare gun, and it says critical hit above her, and then it goes to so yeah, she collapses, and at this point, basically, the villagers in Breckenvereen are start cheering and shouting. The young doesn't even look back. Well, looks back briefly and clears out. And Breckenvereen are now raising Lamar on their shoulders because that was amazing what he did and the fighting he did. And
He's
Astrid and
like,
Eric are sort of amazed, having seen various Wonder Worker powers, including his leap and sword skill, and the fire bolts that you were launching. Don't that trust me. The flare gun will disappear in the oral tradition, and you'll be firing fire bolts from your staff in a couple of seasons. Just to let you know.
Yeah,
And
no.
of course, Edgar creating these fields and giant hands out of thin air and disrupting them and chasing them off. Yeah, you guys are heroes.
Ashlyn wants to take a second and just take a look at the place they had been nesting.
yeah, go into the
Yep.
nest.
She just wants to
Let me.
get a feel
me-
for
All right. So are
how
you? So
intelligent they
Yeah.
are.
yeah.
You have some bandages real
You know
quick?
what? I'm gonna. let
You're
me
on
go-
his
let me
shoulder.
go
You're on
around
their
this-
shoulders, celebrating at the moment.
Yeah. Let me go around the screen clockwise, starting from Ashlyn. Ashlyn, you're gonna check out the chamber they emerged from.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me make some notes here what you guys are doing, and then I'll come back and let you know what you find.
Excuse me, my turn to yawn.
Yeah, now like I'm not tired, but my head is going. You really need to lay down. Thanks, head. I thought I was like getting over this. All right, Roland. Anything that you're doing in specific?
Since we don't know if there are any others in there, Roland's gonna follow Ashling into the nest area because Freya's not here, and he's sure she would appreciate somebody going with her.
Okay. Lamar, you are, like I said, you're getting put on Breckenvarine's shoulders, and they're cheering at your incredible sword skill.
He's like, I appreciate it. I appreciate it, guys, but I'm half dead. Like, can you put me down? My ribs.
Oh, so they both look. You're injured? Oh, and they do put you down. Where?
Right.
And they're gonna try to. They're basically start like they're gonna try to figure if they can help you in it in with what they know.
Yeah, so he's gonna show like yeah, he's probably got some big old handprints on his chest or whatnot from the giant slapping him, and he's gonna look back towards the Huskarls. He's like, "Do you think I earned some armor now?"
So what they instead of getting you up on their shoulders, they basically get an arm over their shoulders and gonna pick you like taking a football player off the field. They're gonna flank you and walk you back up the hill. Astrid and Eric look at each other and sort of nod, and Eric says, I think you have earned your coat."
I appreciate it. Drinks on you when we get back.
Edgar, what's your action? Anything?
Edgar had the same thought that we're not sure if there's anything else here that might be dangerous, and he's also not sure that Ashlyn isn't going to throttle Roland, so he's going to approach in that direction also, and just kind of be on the lookout for stuff. He's not going to enter the cave and or the den, and there's also other openings there, so he's going to stand approach one of the other openings as well, and just kind of stay in the middle of the place while people are crowding around in case there's any other threats happening.
All right, I'll get back to Edgar. Roll 2d6 and give me the individual numbers.
All right, 2d6. Oh, hang on one second. Actual numbers and not my Prowlers and Paragon dice, so give me 1 second. The numbers are 4 and 1.
All right, we'll get to that in a moment. Ashlyn and Roland, what you find is that that this chamber, you're not sure what it was used for, but it basically has an entrance that opens up into a small rectangular room. You're not sure if it was used for, it might have been some sort of storage, you think maybe? You're not sure. Or maybe it was for relics, or maybe it was for some unknown reason. But currently it is filled with tall grasses that are mounds of it, branches and leaves and such. It smells of giant people. They certainly don't relieve themselves in here. But there are food scraps. You notice there's some scattered bones, but also other elements, leaves, maybe fruit and things. They probably eat most everything, but there are still bits and pieces scattered about where they've brought something back and eaten it and have discarded maybe pits or other parts. And it's otherwise empty. Now, Edgar, let me do something real quick here. Let me open up a file, and I will tell you something. Or I may have to modify it, but we'll see. There we go. Scroll. Oh, okay. So you're looking into the other chambers, and in one of them you see a slight metallic glint.
Edgar will go and approach it, see if we can see what it is.
What it is that the sun has been climbing into the sky and is kind of now behind you, so it's illuminating these various chambers, and you see a ring about yay big around, laying on the ground slightly inside one of these chambers, and hanging from that ring is a slew of antique keys, like the old-fashioned skeleton key, the sort you might see in, say, like the Pirates of the Caribbean key ring for the jailer, or like in a medieval movie. They're metal. They're probably mostly like like iron or something close to that, slightly rusty. They've been here a while.
Edgar will
No,
absolutely
no. Hmm?
Edgar will absolutely grab that.
Okay. Well, then you could add a ring of antique keys to your gear
Nice.
list. Um,
Yeah.
no, yeah, you have no. There doesn't seem. There's nothing else in here, like a lock or anything. So you're not sure what they would go to. If they are skeleton keys, they may fit. They may be able to bypass the wards of certain locks, but that's kind of iffy.
Right. This is really strange, but he's definitely going to grab him and probably show it to Roland later on.
All right.
Depending on how the Ashlyn Roland conversation goes, I guess.
Right. So, anything going on between Ashlyn and Roland as you check out the chamber and see that it is empty? Also, Edgar, the other chambers appear to be empty in that they don't have a nest in them.
Once Ashlyn gets a good look at the inside, she literally just turns her back on Roland and walks out. She doesn't look at him. She doesn't say anything.
Roland?
Wow. Not what he was expecting, but he doesn't realize that she's upset yet because he doesn't know her that well. So he's gonna root around for a little bit just to double check, and then he's gonna go ahead and exit himself.
Okay. So, Lamar, you're being brought back to the lines. They're going to try to get, I don't know if you were wearing any armor, they're going to try to get it off. They're going to see what they can do to help you out. Edgar, you see Ashlyn just sort of turn her back on Roland, walk away. He kind of looks around a bit and then heads on back. Since we are almost to the end of this session, what's eventually going to happen is basically everybody's going to get collected together. Spent arrows will be collected. Spears will be recovered. The nest will be double checked by other people just to ensure, they'll poke around, don't find anything of note. And the trip will be made back to Fearcat.
Before we leave, I'd like to take some cloth and put it over the two Sasquatches' faces, and then take pictures of it. Take pictures of them with my phone.
Okay. You can do that.
Huh? So yeah, and then I'd gladly go back to Fearcat.
I just wanted to let. By the way, I just saw a alert pop up because I get little notifications on my Mac. We have someone in Australia watching us.
Nice.
Wow.
Well, he's a friend of mine. I've known him for a very long time. For my 40th birthday, I visited him and his brother in Australia. And they live in Cammeray, outside of Sydney. He was an old-time Champions fan. I've been showing him P&P, and I sent him the links. And I just saw a note that he said, "P.S. I am watching the game." So, hello. Hi, Alex. Now he will not watch the game. I'll turn it off, and we'll never hear from him again. Sorry, but I thought you'd want to know. That's we got somebody in Australia watching. So, Astrid and Eric sort of flank you while this. They're not sure what you're doing, but they understand respect to the honored dead. So they basically, watch this. You are told again. They both Eric sort of looks at you and says, "You showed great skill and great courage. You fought a giant person one-on-one and have survived. We will certainly tell Jarl Thorkell of your deeds."
It wasn't one-on-one. It was a group effort. He says as he started slipping back. but I
True.
appreciate your vote of confidence.
And your companions certainly made it possible for us to slay two of them and drive the third away. I think without you, all of you, it would have been a much harder fight.
Glad that we could do what we can. I have no idea where they went though. He starts looking around for them.
Where who went?
I thought you guys all went down to the. Oh yeah, you
No,
got.
well,
Yeah.
The party.
Never mind.
everybody's still sort of here.
Gotcha.
All right. So I have a question. So because once you return the fear cat, do you guys have intend on any immediate actions, or will you basically stay where you are for a time? Like, do you tend to leave the village? Do you tend to stay there? What are you guys up to?
Ashlyn wants to, and I think we've talked about this briefly, but there's been talk of an advanced city at the end of the Great Travel Road.
Great Trade Road.
Trade Road,
Right.
that's what it is. And so that sounds like a place that might know more and might find us a way home. So that's her ultimate goal.
Okay.
How much
sounds
prep
good to
that'll
me.
take is
Yeah,
another thing
that was
entirely.
definitely something we talked about because it seemed like the best way for us to investigate. And at the
Right.
very least, it gives us a way to come back down the Great Trade Road if we hit a dead end to at least a place we're semi-familiar with.
Right. Edgar, you have any plans, or you agree with this?
I agree with that ultimate plan. I will say that when we get back, one, we want to make sure no one else was injured. Just that is definitely one thing we want to check, just make sure that we know who Lamar was, and we want to make sure Lamar is taken care of, and that no one else was injured. Two, also want to check in with the people that we've met. Right, we got Guthny and all the other folks, Belgirth and stuff, just to check in with them, make sure everything is going okay with them. I completely agree with Ashlyn. I think ultimately we want to go to that city, and I think in the short term we're going to want to go back to Ashcan, which is on the way to that city, since that's the start of the Great Trade Road, right? To
Yes.
report to escort the Huskarls back and you report back to the Jarl, and Lamar can potentially get something there since that he was promised in front of a lot of people. So that's
Okay.
what you're saying.
Yeah, we can spend the
Lamar?
time there to get the suit. It'll also give Edgar and Roland a chance to study the language more
Okay.
because the suit's going to take a season? You said, right?
Well, that's if you make one from scratch.
Fair. We don't have no idea how long it'll take for them to make the suit if they have to make one bigger. So if we have to stick around for a couple days.
Lamar, that sounds like you're going to return to Ashcam.
Yeah, as soon as my body will allow, I'd like to go claim what I paid for in blood. Yeah, I definitely want to go to Ashcan, and then I'd also and then I'd also want to see if these poker chips are actually worth anything here. If they're willing to barter with them. We didn't do that. We didn't do that the last time we were there.
Of course, we also have to check in with Freya.
Yeah.
Do we though?
Yes.
All right. So, in preparation for next session, there's going to be, first of all, there's going to be a feast. Because before you go back to Ashcam, there's going to be a big feast. They're going to get everything together. You express, well, we'd like to go to Ashcam and get the mail coat and do things there. The villagers will be sad to see you go, but understand, you have great power, and the Jarl may have use of you, or may ask you to come back to look after this village or such. They don't know, but you have things you need to do, and they understand that. And for a nice cliffhanger, that night, because the feast will be the next day, but that night, Ashlyn, you're woken by Freya very early in the morning,
Mm.
and she says, "We have to get everybody up now."
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, yeah. Lamar, roll 6 dice. Tell me how many successes you get.
I got 5.
Our
5.
blurred background makes it so we can't.
Yeah,
read the
I
dice,
can't.
Chris,
Yeah,
just FYI,
nothing.
Oh, you
Nothing's
can't see it?
coming up.
Oh, so I've been
because your background is blurred.
Okay, gotcha. Well, yeah, I got 3 5s and a 6.
All right, so you got 5 successes.
Yes.
All right, so you very early in the morning, snap. This is before you would wake up to do your exercises. You snap awake, and you realize that something is very wrong.
He snaps awake and then just puts his hand on his sword. Take the black.
There we go. All right, so I'm going to do something. I'm going to now move your 2.0 versions into the new characters, into your new character sheets bin. And before next session, I'm going to ask you guys, copy everything over to these 2.0 sheets. You'll get to see your full suite of capabilities and powers. And then we will take your old character sheets, the 1.0s and the 1.5s, and we'll clear them out. But now you'll see what your 75-point versions can do. And something bad is about to happen. And I think just to give you an idea, next session will be called Enter the Sky People.
Of course. I'm waiting for Ashlyn to get really mad at Roland.
She is.
I feel like she's just going to ignore him for a while.
I'm gonna say she is really mad at Roland.
All right. So, really important quick note. Whatever resolve you may, if you look at your 2.0 sheets, because you're powering up, you're going to see that you don't have the resolve that you used to have. Now, the funny thing is, Ashlyn has a ton because for various reasons, but a bunch of you other guys are now pushing the dice cap, and so your resolve will go down. However, whatever resolve you have left over from today will apply to tomorrow. The resolve that you have does not get wiped out, but you also won't be refreshing the same amount. Because, for example, I think Edgar had 6 or 8 because he didn't buy up anything that really affected combat. So, or Roland was one of you. And it was yeah, you're going to be everybody's friend because you're going to have 8 resolve that you can use and hand out. So whatever resolve you have left over now gets added, look at that character sheet. Because, for example, Lamar, I can tell you, has 0 because I spent all of his points to give him a ton of capabilities. And Lamar's yeah, this sheet looks great.
My resolve actually didn't change.
I have a question, though, because Jinx is an extra resolve.
Well, you should, yeah, right. That should be counted in there. You should always have at least 1.
Okay.
Now,
So would
now
that would that count? What I'm asking is here, because I know you're picking up essentially from like our characters didn't get a chance to rest. We're not getting like the session resolved because we're ending this on a cliffhanger. Would I still
well,
get the jinx
you
at the
got
start of every session get one?
well, you are getting an evening's rest effectively, and we're going to next day. Now let me take a look at your character sheet. Let me see here. Roland Morris 2.0. Okay, if you notice, you have 3 resolve written there, right?
Yeah, I
That
just
is
adjusted it
one.
because that's what I had left over.
Okay, but was it 1 before?
It was at 2 before.
It was 2. The reason why it was
Yeah.
2 is because you have Jinx, and your Omni power is 7 dice, which is 1 die below the 8 die cap.
Okay.
So it's already accounted. So what I'm going to do, what I'm going to recommend you is if you take a look at your sheet, do what I did, put a 2/3. So the value that you see is what you refresh every day, but the other value is how much you currently have. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah, I can.
So
I can set something up like that for myself.
All right. Well, I think we can end the stream now and
Oh,
do
sorry,
some
sorry.
bookkeeping once we are off air. I don't think this is very interesting to watch. I think we have some how to build character episodes in our YouTube archives because we've done those before, mostly with I think you, Michael.
Yes.
So
Sorry, ADD took over.
nope, that's quite all right. That's why I'm here as the producer to keep things on track. So Tom, if our tech is good, I think we will say goodnight and we'll see you again in 2 weeks for Well of the Worlds.
Much love.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.